Good evening and welcome to the Nevada Unified School District's Board of Trustee regular meeting. If you would all please join us at the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, thank you. So we're going to go ahead and get started by going to our next agenda item, which is 6, the announcement of reportable action out of closed session, and Vice President Butler will make those announcements.
All right, the board did meet in closed session this evening on 4 items. The first item with respect to every item of business to be discussed in closed session pursuant to Government Code 54956.9. This is an insurance claim 612199. The board voted on a vote of 7-0 with a motion made by Trustee Mack, seconded by Trustee Aguila, to deny the claim. The second item with respect to every item of business to be discussed in closed session, public employees discipline, dismissal, release. It was information only to the board. Third item with respect to every item of business to be discussed in closed session pursuant to Government Code 54957 and 54957.6, conference with labor negotiator Barbara Varenkovich, attorney Dennis Welliver Kelly, Employees Organization, California State Employees Association, otherwise known as CSEA. It was information only. And the last item, with respect to every item of business to be discussed in closed session pursuant to Government Code 54957 and 54957.6, conference with labor negotiator Barbara Varenkovich, attorney Dennis Welliver Kelly, Employees Organization, Nevada Federation of Teachers, otherwise known as NFT. It was also information only.
All right, thank you, Trustee Butler. Our next item is approval of tonight's agenda. And so what I would like to propose is that we change item D, which is a 13D, which is discussion action to take place later on. We have item D, which is the 2023 Measure G bond project list. Staff would like to move that to be first, so I guess that without re-lettering them, we would just take D first, and then we would move to A, B, C, E, F, and G. So if there aren't any questions or objections to that, I'll accept a motion and a second to approve tonight's amended agenda.
I'll second.
I missed the first, you guys. I was still talking. So Trustee Jacobs first and seconded by Trustee Aguila. All those in favor of amended agenda? I have 7 in favor and 2 positive advisory votes from our student trustees. Thank you very much. So we will proceed with our amended agenda. So next is approval of the consent agenda. So do any trustees have any comments or items on tonight's consent agenda that they would wish to pull and discuss? Seeing none, I would ask for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda as is. Okay, got a first by Trustee Gasson, seconded by Trustee Jacobson. All those in favor? 7 in favor, 2 in favor, advisory votes from our student board trustees. So the consent agenda has been adopted. Number 9 is our next item, and this is when we're going to have questions and comments and announcements from our board and superintendent and our student staff members, and we're going to start with our student trustees. So we'll go ahead and turn it over to our first trustee, Stephanie.
Hello. So it's been pretty busy at Marin Oaks the past 2 weeks. We had some exciting activities and events. The past week we had 7 open-ended graduates. Thank you, Trustee Jacobson, for being with us. We also had a team building day where we played many games and got into groups to become more close and have a better relationship with our fellow classmates. And today we had a celebration for our character building for the last quarter, where we had some treats, and our principal congratulated us for our character, and all the students who had showed growth mindset and showed the importance of character. And the beginning of our quarter, this week was the beginning of our quarter, so we're our second quarter, so we're just getting used to getting back into things.
All right. Thank you very much. Go ahead. You're up.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So at San Marin, we have two big things coming up. So every single year we do a Halloween event now in partnership with the Novato Teen Moms. And we basically hold it at our campus, and our group of leadership students, we dress up and we hand out candy to students and their families. It's been a great event these past 2 years, and we look forward to continuing the tradition. It's going to be on the day before Halloween, since Monday most students will have school, even though it's going to be a minimum day. So it's going to be Sunday around 11. It begins at 11. And yeah, families will be able to come on campus. We're going to be dressed up in costumes. We're going to have arts and crafts and games. And it'll be overall a great time. Secondly, we have Powder Puff coming up. We've decided on November 17th as the date. So if you are unaware, Powder Puff is basically an event where football players and cheerleaders basically switch roles. So cheerleaders can end up playing a game of flag football, not tackle football, and then the football players cheer. And this is open to students who, they don't have to be a part of football and cheer to participate. So it's overall a great event for the school. It's completely student run, and parents can come out and watch too. And then lastly, Sam Marin did a presentation at San Jose with Superintendent Derby. I believe you were there. I saw you there. We presented some of our STEM programs and our athletic programs, such as football. And overall, it was a great success. We got a lot of great questions. And yeah, thank you.
Can I just add one thing?
Absolutely.
And you brought your girl football player
Mm-hmm.
to talk to the kids and encourage the girls to go out. So I thought that was great too.
Yeah, that was great that she came out. And then we had a bunch of students asking about the STEM program, and it was great to answer some questions about high school.
Super job, yeah.
All right. Thank you. So we'll move on. Trustee Milrick, any?
I had a conversation earlier with our CFO, Loris Standring, and I think we got some dates for when we're going to be able to see the camera proposals come forward for us approval. So instead of me telling what she told me, if we can have the superintendent relate that information to everybody, that'd be great. So we're all on this, looking forward at the same schedule. Other than that, no comments at this time.
All right. Thank you. Trustee Aguila.
I don't have any announcements, but I just wanted to say I met with superintendent again and one-on-one, and just wanted the community to know that she takes the time to meet with every single one of us individually, and so that's really helpful because we get to exchange information that's crucial. So thank you again for that. Wanted to make a correction from the last announcement that I made last week, that our wonderful lady from Novato, I said that she turned 103. She turned 104. So that was my mistake. But anyway, and I think that's it for announcements.
All right. Thank you. Trustee Jacobson.
I had the pleasure of attending the Marin Oaks bell ringing ceremony. That is for students who finished all of their graduation requirements mid-year. I do hope that they will come and participate in the ceremony at the end of the year to really be acknowledged, but it was wonderful. And I want to just make a PSA that for all of our parents out there watching, if you choose to put the internet in your children's hand in the form of a smartphone, you also take on the responsibility of teaching them how to use that appropriately and to explain to them the ways in which we interact with social media and the internet. So please take that seriously. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Trustee Gessen.
Been doing a lot of campus visits and volunteering for events. It's getting to be that time of year where we've got a lot of school events that are happening, and I love going and participating on whatever it is that they're doing, like the fall festivals and things like that. I also attended the JLAC meeting, that's Joint Legislative Action Committee meeting. It's a great opportunity for trustees and superintendents to get an idea for exactly what is being presented in terms of bills and what gets passed by Governor Newsom. So that was very helpful. It's another way for us to advocate too on behalf of our schools. I also participated in Modeling the Way, great opportunity to honor our wonderful staff and teachers. It's always fun, and there's videos frequently on our Facebook page, and I'm sure Leslie puts out in other
mediums too, but I love going back and watching those. This weekend I had a chance, I almost missed. I had so much fun at the Novato High School homecoming parade. That was great, and I appreciated Jason driving us around. And then this last weekend, I enjoyed the San Marin High School performance of a 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. It was pretty hilarious and probably one of the best things I've seen for a while. And the drama class is actually going to be putting on a production. This is a test on November 4th at 7 p.m. and November 5th at 1 p.m. And then there's also the District Special Education Advisory Committee meeting that'll be here on Thursday at 6 p.m.
Is that it? Sounds so good. Mr. Trustee.
Nothing to report. I just want to thank Dr. Derby and staff for all the work they put in last night and today. I know it's been a very, very long day. Thank you.
Trustee Butler.
A couple things have already been mentioned, but I attended the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee performance at San Marin High School, Novato High Homecoming Parade, Modeling the Way, which was mentioned, and I got to the Hamilton PTA meeting, which was a joint ELAC, and PTA together, and the principal presented the school site plans and reviewed those with the two groups. That's it.
Very good. I have no announcements tonight, so I'm just going to turn it over to the superintendent, who I know has got a lot to say.
I hope not too many, but do you have at your places, this is the first employee housing that's going to go in at the San Quentin property. We're so excited. It's a joint venture county-wide. There are going to be 250 affordable units. The Eden housing is 115 low income, and then the education housing will be 101 units, and then 34 of those, an additional 34 will go to county employees. This is a wonderful project, and they are going to complete the CEQA in 2023 and start the building, and then they'll be completed by 2025. So this is sort of the first round, and now that you have a team that is doing a housing project, Derek, that you've led, and Julie and Debbie and Juliet and Franny. So it's wonderful that we've got a team, because the next project appears to be the IVC project, and then maybe Novato will be the next one up. So it's pretty exciting, and I want to just show you the schematic because it's beautiful. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about is December 7th, to kind of hold that date. We think we're going to have another special board meeting. So if you could all hold that date, 5 o'clock. And then I want to do a special thanks to Catalina Gage and the Linwood team, who handled some very challenging, difficult situations last night and then all through the day today, and the families and the community that have rallied to support a safe environment. So I met this morning with Mary Jane, who always steps up, and Novato PD, who did exemplary work last night and all through the night and again today, to handle a very challenging situation. We are having on Thursday morning, we're having a county-wide Zoom with all law enforcement and the districts and representatives from middle school, high school, and a central office. And we're going to try to determine where do we go from here. We know that we need a big education component, and we are trying to figure out what is actually in place. We know that the state has eliminated funding for gang task force, so the only one who has a gang task force currently is San Rafael. And so we need to learn from each other and do some prevention work with students, parents, and staff, because these are devastating things that are happening to our young people that don't need to be happening. And it's just been a really kind of rough couple days here. So I want to acknowledge Catalina for being the first one to call 911 and getting everything handled. So anyway, so I think we're going to start doing some positive things together as a county to do some prevention. I think it's really important. And I think that'll be it.
All right, I appreciate that. So we are going to move on to our next agenda item, and that's 10. This is presentations from our schools. This is the best part of our meetings, and I know the board looks forward to these. So we have Olive Elementary and Lori Nuno, the Olive principal, will open up the presentation for her school, and I hear young voices about. Yeah. So, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, NUSD Board, Dr. Derby. This evening, Olive will be presenting two great things that are happening on our campus. The first one comes off of PBIS, which is Positive Behavioral Intervention Supports. It is a foundation of building expectations on campus and also recognition of those when students meet those expectations. Tonight we are going to be hearing not only from some of our students around some of the great things that are happening around PBIS and character building, but we're also going to be hearing from our kinder teachers about something that they've been doing for a long time called ABC Boot Camp. And so we'll have some of our kinder students who will be singing for you. So I'm going to go ahead and start.
A few students to honor today who have shown amazing safety and self-control. But to get us in the mood, we must do our new chant. Don't you think? Yeah! Yes? All right, so remember, you're going to repeat after me. Are you ready? Yeah! Okay. S-H-A-R-K. S-H-A-R-K. Live and learn the Olive way. A priority. Safety is a priority. Helping hands for you and me. Helping hands for you and me. Always be respectful too. Always be respectful too. Responsible through and through. Responsible through and through. But the most important rule of all. Be kind to others, big and small. Be kind to others, big and small. All right, friends, so in order for us. So I have three students who I have invited tonight to kind of talk about their experience with the character traits and the shark cards and the monthly Shark Fantastic Awards. So I have Owen, Darren, and Skylar. You want to come on up?
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Owen.
Hello, my name is Skylar Rogers, and I am in the 4th grade in Mr. Williams' class at Olive. I think the Shark Trait program is great because it makes the school a more happy, kind, and responsible place. Another few reasons it's great are it helps stop fights in the playground, it makes for more helpful and cooperative students, and it makes it easier to do school programs when students embrace them. So I think it would improve the school even more if we continue the Shark Traits through the years at Olive Elementary.
Hi, I'm Darren, a 4th grader at Olive Elementary. I think shark cards are a good way to encourage responsibility, respect, and kindness at school. All the kids love when Mrs. Nuno comes into our classrooms once a month to talk about each month's shark card theme, like being safe or being helpful and how we can earn a shark card. Every month, each teacher picks 2 kids from their classroom to receive a fantastic character award. We are learning a lot about responsibility and character at Olive School.
Thank you. Oh, is it? Okay. So that's just a little bit about our program that we started this year at Olive. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mrs. Boulad and Ms. Pappas, who will be talking about the ABC Boot Camp. And we have some students who will be performing.
Thank you so much. Hi there, everybody. My name is Tiffany Boulad, and my partner here, Alyssa Pappas, is coming up, and we're going to talk just for a minute about boot camp before we introduce the kids and have them perform for you. Okay. So ABC Boot Camp is something that we do pretty much the first 26 days of school, just as a jump start for them to, start learning their letters. And it's a multi-sensory program where we put a gesture and a picture and a word with each letter so that they can, start learning how to read and write, essentially.
Yeah, and so now we're at the point we're ending the first trimester. Now the kids have got it down, and now we're really seeing it put into action. We're seeing them stretching out their sounds. We're seeing them, listening for those first sounds and doing their gestures and putting it into their reading and their writing. So we're excited to share it with you.
And the great part about it is that when you do a movement to something, your brain remembers it more. So that's, you'll really see when they're trying to sound out a word, or they can't remember what the letter is, they'll start doing this for dolphin. Mm-hmm. So, there's a lot of brain research about that. And one of the fun components that we've done is they find things in class and also bring things from home that start with that letter to really get the families involved. So we'll bring them up. And I'm sorry, audience, we're going to be facing the trustees. Yep. And so... and we'll introduce all of them, and maybe we'll introduce them after they come up.
Yep, I will, and I'll lead. Why don't you go first since yours on that second?
David, will they be seen?
And Camilla, and Julia,
They be seen if they
and Mira.
face?
We have Eloise, and Melina, and Joel, and Donovan.
I know it feels strange because we always sit talking about that.
There we go. Donovan, you ready? Ready?
If you want to just have them turn around so their parents can get pictures and stuff, that would be great. You guys want to step up and...
And the boys, the kids that spoke, can you want to get behind them so we can get photos of all of you too? Yeah, come on up. Yeah, you can stand behind them. That would be great.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Right.
Thank you. Fabulous job.
So, gentlemen, kindergartners, you guys can follow me. Dolphin D. Yes, they go home singing it. Queen Q. You ready?
Thank you, Olive. Thank you for coming, Olive School. Get out a little bit and then we'll bring. All right, so it's time to start taking staff reports. No, I'm sorry. I absolutely don't want to skip this. This is important. Number 11, non-agenda public comment. And this is the time of the board meeting where we open it up to public speakers who want to address the board on items that are not on tonight's agenda. As a matter of policy, the board isn't able to respond to these comments, so we will listen and hear what has to be said, and then perhaps possibly take action or give direction later on. So I'm going to start our non-agenda public comment tonight with our first speaker, Gary Novak. Mr. Novak, okay.
I come bearing gifts. The concept of critical race theory, the 1619 Project, anti-racism are kicked around like soccer balls in today's education realm and causing much rancor. As a district parent, I want to offer up a novel take on comprehending our nation's twisted historical past on race relations. I have given each of the trustees a copy of Ariston Caldwell's Trouble in July for their review. I think this book frames race relations in a context that elucidates past harms which we as a nation are still toiling with. Erskine Caldwell was an American novelist and short story writer. During his 83 years on this planet, he published 25 novels and 150 short stories. His father was a Presbyterian minister, his mother was a school teacher, and both parents' family trees were planted in the Carolinas prior to the American Revolution. Caldwell came of age in the South in the 1910s and 20s. He was a product of a solid upper middle class family. He was a Southerner to the core. Trouble in July is Caldwell's tale of a lynching, a good old-fashioned Southern race lynching, the type used to keep blacks in fear, whites reactive, and both subjugated to the conversive elite influence. Caldwell's characters illuminate the blind loyalty of the common folk to conform to traditional elite modalities. The story revolves around the 1930s backwater sheriff's efforts to avoid the political entanglements of lynch mob creates. He's worried about the next election for sheriff and what might happen if he stops the mob, thus breaking social custom, or let the lynching proceed and offend a social party or a local party boss. In short, Trouble in July reveals the Jim Crow South, warts and all, is not a pretty picture, but it is a picture we, as a citizenry, must gaze upon. Literature is a window to view the past, and this book is a giant picture window of Southern race relations. I'm here before the board because I know this book has the gravitas to enlighten and open teenage minds. I ask the trustees to read this book, and when you're finished, you will see the Trouble in July must be incorporated into 11th grade U.S. history and literature courses, and if your opinion differs, I care to know why. I left you a note, email me. Thank you for your time this evening.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Novak. All right, we have one more speaker tonight, and that is Sasha Vargas King.
Hi. Hello, NUSD board members and Dr. Derby. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I'm sure you thought I was going to be talking about Linwood. I'm not wearing my green. I'm sorry, everybody. I came straight from work. Another night, but I'm happy for everybody else that will be speaking tonight. Sadly, though, I am here tonight as a mom, mother of three, community member, neighbor of Linwood. I'm here because I'm scared. I'm distraught. I'm asking for your help. I'm really happy to hear Dr. Derby's announcement this morning that on Thursday you will be meeting as a task force or as a county-wide committee to discuss what we can do as a county and meet with other middle schools and high schools about what's going on. Unfortunately, though, we've had a lot of incidents at Linwood, in particular since May. And last night's incident was just kind of the precipice of what's been happening on our campus. My neighborhood school, it's our closest playground. My kids play there often, almost every day, on the weekends, different times of day. Normally, I would be on campus. It was site council night. We had movie night the couple weeks ago. And police are asking for assistance, for help to help out and see what happened. Unfortunately, on our campus, we don't have cameras, and we don't have enough lighting. We don't have fencing, proper fencing that's secure. It's constantly being cut. I'm asking for your assistance, not only at Linwood, but at all of our Novato Unified Schools. We need more lighting. We need more fencing. We need all of these pieces and cameras so that things can be reviewed. People know that cameras are there. They're going to be deterred from doing things that are inappropriate. My husband went down to Linwood just a few weeks ago with my youngest two kids, 4 and 6, and there was a couple there doing very inappropriate things at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday. Needless to say, he had to walk away and kids couldn't bike. This is happening a lot. In the past, since May, there's been break-ins into the bathrooms on a constant basis. There's been windows broken from the library to the kindergarten play yard, constant bottles found, things inappropriate all over the place. And it's not just at Linwood. I saw it at San Ramon. I've seen it at Loma Verde. I'm all over town. I feel like I'm the constant community kind of person. I'm checking my time. I am looking around for my neighborhood watch. I'm driving down the street because I have to pass back and forth from all the soccer practices I have to attend. And I'm constantly looking, ready to go, okay, do I see everything? Nobody's on campus. But our campuses are dark. I'm at at Loma Verde and at San Ramon campus till about 7:30 at night, 4 days a week. And it's pitch black. So if things are happening we can't see and neighbors can't see to call in. So I'm just asking for your assistance. I really appreciate it.
All right, we appreciate your comments tonight. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to staff reports now, and the first item up is item 12A, which is dual immersion middle school pathway. And we're going to have
Erin, Ashley, and Carolina Gage.
Presenters, I'll let you guys introduce yourselves.
Do you have the slide deck too, or just the PowerPoint? This will work.
Everyone, good evening. Superintendent Latori Derby, trustees, parents, and the Novato community. My name is Carlina Gage, and I'm the principal at Linwood Elementary. Before we begin tonight, I want to acknowledge the traumatic events that happened at Linwood last night. We appreciated the district's support today by sending psychologists and therapists to help support individual and small group counseling for our students and staff as we process the events together. We send our love to the victims, family, friends, and our entire community. As our community heals from this trauma, we will build bridges between us, as we believe that relationships are our greatest strength and protection from hateful acts. We will also review what safety measures we will need to be taken at Linwood and at all NUSD schools so that our students and our families feel safe. So sometimes it's just important to pause and take a deep collective breath together. So let's do that right now. All right, but tonight we are here to talk about our children's future. And I'm here with Erin Ashley, one of our Linwood parents, and we're here to discuss the pathway for a Spanish-English dual immersion program into the middle schools. We know that there is a growing demand for bilingual talent in our global economy. Not only can multilingual individuals bridge social networks and cultures, but they also demonstrate greater creativity, cognitive flexibility, and problem-solving skills. 5 years ago, this board here, made a decision to launch our program and to equip students with the skills they need, that they will need to be prepared for their futures, as well as to address the opportunity gaps that exist in our schools. We now have a wonderful program and opportunity to expand into 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in order to raise the achievement gap for all learners, retain students, and attract families to NUSD. Erin?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your time tonight. In 2018, I was one of the families that came to try to launch this program, along with many of the people that you'll see in the audience here today. And we were so grateful for the unanimous support that we had from the board. A few of you were absent that day, but everyone that was here gave us the go-ahead. And along with the leadership under Jim Hogaboom and Yvonne Chaidez at the time, it just felt good. There was this moment where we're like, all right, there's so much hope. And through that support, that alignment from parents to staff, to the district, to the board, we were able to create this amazing program. And a program that really lives up to the equity imperative of this district. And we're heartened by the leadership from Dr. Latora Derby, as well as the staff and the new leadership at Linwood, that there's a possibility to continue this promise for families. When this was launched, there was a road show that went around. We went to all the different schools within Novato, and parents were given some research around what it takes to make a successful dual immersion program where all students graduate bilingual and biliterate in both languages. And parents learned that it takes an average of 6 years to develop that proficiency in both languages. And that's an average. That means many are not hitting that mark at that time. And that's at times when we don't have a pandemic and change of leadership and all of the things that we've all been through. And so we're here tonight, many of us are here tonight, in order to ask that we extend this program through 8th grade to fulfill that promise for all families, that we can actually make all students have that opportunity to be bilingual and biliterate, and to especially address the achievement gap that exists for our English language learners. This program launched in the fall of 2018. I think that there's a typo there. It's my bad. Sorry about that. And as the students are progressing through the program, we now have students that are in 5th grade that are getting excited to start for 6th grade. And we really need a plan for our families. So we're here tonight to support this. And With the support of Dr. Derby, with Carolina, we did a survey for our whole community to see, A, what is the interest, because we don't want to go to all this effort if people aren't going to show up. And then how do we implement this most thoughtfully? So we did a school-wide survey, and we found that 89% of our families want to continue the DI program. That's TK through 5 right now. And in your board documents, you can see the breakdown grade level by grade level. 7% of our families are undecided, and 4% do not wish to continue to the program through middle school. So tonight, we'll share a few of the options that the district provided our families as potential ways forward. After hearing your questions and input from the community, the district is going to look at factors like cost of curriculum, teacher credentialing, impact on current programs, just all of the pieces of the puzzle that go into the school system that will need to be considered. And we'll come back to you on November 15th, where you're going to have an opportunity to make a decision. If I understand correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the staff will make a recommendation for which option to move forward. And then from there, the staff will make a plan, and we just hope for a viable option that goes through 8th grade. Another important part of this plan is a master plan. When this program was launched, there were great intentions to develop a really coherent plan around curriculum, instruction, assessment with goals and metrics for what the impact of this program would be. And with all of the interruptions that have been a part of our experience, that hasn't happened yet. And so another piece of this will be to ensure that we have a coherent plan that goes from TK to 8th, so that we can align our systems and structures towards the outcomes that we want. And Carolina will share with you the options that were shared with families. Thank you.
So the district helped provide 2 options for families. Here we have option 1. So next year, 23-24, is add 6th grade at Linwood, dual immersion, and then classes in the following year, 24-25, and in 8th grade in 25-26 at San Jose Middle School. And option 2 would be having dual immersion strand at San Jose Middle School next year for 6th graders, 23-24, then adding 7th grade in 24-25, and adding 8th grade in 25-26. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit of each one of these options. I think I got ahead of myself. So in option 1, this would give our team time to plan and build a coalition with San Jose Community Schools. And in addition, give us more flexibility with possibly teacher credentialing. And in the second plan, we would start our work immediately with San Jose Middle School in our plan to support 6th graders next year. With this option, we would work, in general, our community. So when we asked our community, as you heard, most of the families were in favor of option 1. So they prefer 6th grade at Linwood. However, 89% of our families want a dual immersion program no matter where it's at. So they would support their students at San Jose Middle School next year as well. What is most important to our community is a viable option to provide the dual immersion program to continue through 8th grade. So we look forward to presenting at our staff's recommendation at the November 15th meeting. We're going to be back again to present a little more detail to the board and hope for your support in our quest for a 6, 7, 8 dual immersion program here with Novato. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to any questions or comments from the board for maybe the next 8 minutes.
Okay, questions and comments from the board. Trustee Mack.
First, I want to say thanks and great job from the beginning. I was at the beginning of this, and I'm really happy to see that we're getting to this point. I do feel sad that we couldn't address this in the last couple of years, but we obviously had some issues, so that kind of slowed things down. What I'd like to better understand is what are we looking at in terms of getting this up and running at San Jose in this short amount of time? because I'll be honest, I'm inclined to just go ahead and start doing that sooner rather than later, but I need to better understand the challenge.
Yeah, I think right away, building a coalition. I've already met with Mike Casper, the principal at San Jose, having a coalition that we've kind of set in place as soon as possible, and start that communication with what is this going to look like in sixth grade, if we have it at San Jose. What are the textbooks that are involved? What is the cost? So that is all work that we plan on doing in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and we'll have all that information for you for the November 15th meeting. So we have a little bit of work to do. We are also planning on bringing in a dual immersion expert and having them help us with a master plan that would be a TK8 master plan that would have all the details within it. And we're hoping to have that finished by March. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Trustee Gasson, and Trustee Gasson.
Thank you for your presentation. I went back and actually looked because I wasn't one of the trustees that was here back when this was all being discussed. So I went back and looked at the videotape, which I love NCTV for having that available. And the two meetings were April 4th, 2017 and April 25th. And when I looked at that, one of the things that was referenced in some of the materials was discussion about going and looking at other dual immersion programs within Sonoma and Napa counties. And I know that Petaluma still has one and that they just opened another location. I wasn't really clear on exactly what grade level the second program was going to be covering, but I would be interested in whatever information is provided is using them as a kind of a place to start on what's working there or what they are doing, just as if this moves forward to go through to 8th grade. I think it's great when somebody's actually doing it in the same general community that we are. I think that would be great. And then the other thing that I think, setting COVID aside and all the circumstances that have kind of come up since the approval of the dual immersion school, I think that one of the things I look at is, and I was saying benchmarks, and I think people are taking benchmarks as to student growth, which I think is important, but for me there's also what are the expectations of how many students are enrolled, how are we going to advertise the program, and having that component, because that's going to be critical in anything that we do to have it be successful. Definitely, we've got this group of, I think, how many kids is it? 28 or 30 kids right now in 5th grade?
We have 41 students.
Oh, 41. Okay, I guess maybe some of the members I saw, it would be like a class of 28 or 30. Anyway, setting some, okay, we need to have this many kids in order to move forward, because having something for 10 kids, it makes it difficult, and we want to make sure that we have the interest going forward to that next level from the community, and then have that support too.
So right now we have 89% of 41 students in generally speaking, who would be interested in continuing the dual immersion program into 6th grade of the current 5th graders.
If you look at the Word documents,
do you want to go into the mic?
The board documents detail the exact numbers that we currently surveyed. It's in the neighborhood. There were a few parents that were undecided, so that number could go up and down, but it was around 36 students wanted to continue or were on the fence.
Wait, any more? Okay, Trustee Aguila.
Thank you so much for bringing this forward. It makes sense. When I first came to this country and I didn't know English, I was able to just do it on my own. However, if this program would have existed back then, life would have been so much easier. And it makes sense because when you're younger and you're learning a new language, you don't want to stop, right? So like what I did was I took French, and it was, I wish we would have had dual immersion in French back then, and then I would have done that. But instead I did the 2 years of middle school of French, and then the 4 years of high school. And even then, with my Spanish background, it kind of helped a little bit. But I went to France both times, and both times I was like, oh man, I wish I would have started sooner. So it wouldn't make sense to just stop right on you want to continue as up to high school if possible. So what I wanted to say was, in order for this to happen, to be successful, I mean, we all know that you want to have a coalition. I'm glad that you're looking into that with San Jose Middle School, and I would suggest with the DLAC and with all the other people that are helping you right now in Linwood, that there may be some kind of commitment so that they can continue to grow with the students and stick with those people that hopefully they can provide some service to you and the students, and looking forward to make sure that this program has a longer road, that it doesn't just stop there. But so a lot of work ahead, and looking forward to some feedback from you back in November. So
I love that you shared your personal experience around language development, and I think we all have our own language story of how we learned our first language, or second or third or fourth, and depending upon who you are. Just thinking about what we can offer NUSD, we have a really strong, amazing community that our aim is to both attract and retain students to Novato. We see this as it gets stronger and fulfills that promise of biliteracy through all of the data that we'll collect. I think it's going to be a situation where there's not going to be enough room, but it takes time to grow a program, and it takes patience, and it takes that continual aligned support. And just appreciate the questions tonight. Fiscal responsibility is absolutely critical, especially given our current situation. And if you couple that with retaining and attracting new students, you can look at that financial perspective a little bit more broadly. So we look forward to any more questions that you have.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, because I mentioned, having this coalition in San Jose Middle School, DLAC, ELAC, or, whoever PTA. But I really, really, really encourage a lot of parents to participate, because I believe this will make it a successful program. And so I think it's a win-win for everybody. It's a way to bring in more students too, bringing in more financially. It's also going to be a win-win. And so I hope that we can get a lot of parent involvement. And so
one of the most amazing aspects of Linwood is the PTA and the parent involvements and the amount of money that is raised. So definitely San Jose would be inheriting a bunch of those parents who are all here. I mean, just look at the green shirts. Yeah, so it would be a win-win, I believe, for San Jose. And it would be a nice pairing of us working with the middle school, because we would want to still know what's going on with our kiddos' lives and touching base with them, and then maybe bringing them back to support some of the younger students, in our program.
Okay, I have a question from a student board member, so go ahead.
I have a quick comment and then a question. I was born outside of the United States, and when I was, immigrating to the United States, my first language was Spanish. And as a kid, as growing up in the Central Valley, I wasn't given an option for any immersion programs. And so I was either told Spanish or English, and obviously I think as many parents I think a lot of parents can relate to this. They want their kids to be able to converse with other kids regularly and not struggle with those type of things. And so I was just given English or Spanish, and I went with English. And now, as I struggle to relearn Spanish, I really wish I had, a program like this. I think it's really great. My question is, for the 50% of instruction that's in English, whether that's part of the dual immersion core or not, are the regular teachers at for the first option, in 7th and 8th grade at the middle schools, will regular teachers be able to teach those students, or will they have to be qualified in a way and be notified of this program? Is that something that's going to require a new type of training style for these teachers to be aware of, or will it just be a whole separate class of these students?
Currently, all the teachers at Linwood have what are called B-CLADs in Spanish, so you need a certification called a B-CLAD, which is a bilingual credential. So the teachers who teach, let's say, if they were teaching social science in Spanish, they would have to have a B-CLAD in Spanish. If they were teaching math in Spanish, they would have to have a B-CLAD in Spanish. So it would require extra credentialing by teachers for the classes that are being taught in Spanish. But if the students have 3 other classes in English, those teachers do not need any special credentialing. They would just be in regular classes with teachers with either multiple subject or single subject credentials.
I would just add, Alejandro, that we don't have B-CLAD teachers at San Jose, so we would need to do new hire, or somebody might want to transfer from Linwood to go to San Jose. But it does require, as Catalina says, it requires a B-CLAD credential to do. And what we're talking about is the core, which would be English language, arts, and history, would be taught in Spanish. So, yeah, so it's pretty exciting.
And additionally, one of the things that I'd like to do is start partnering with Sonoma State University. The last school I was at, that was also a dual immersion, we has 6 interns this year. And so when you have a need for teachers with B-CLADs, then you can go to your interns and you have kind of a hiring base. So building relationships with universities, and getting interns into Linwood and San Jose is something that we want to start looking at and doing in the near future.
Okay. Any follow-up on that? Good questions. I think they help us to understand more about it, so I appreciate that. Trustee Gasson.
I just had a follow-up thought and actually was prompted by that. If a student comes in, so right now I think one of the challenges too is that you've got kids can only enter the program when they're in the younger, like I don't even know what it is now. Is it just TKK and first? Are we allowing students? So as you go further up, we can't add in new students. So you've got a pool of, correct? We have a pool of students that are moving up through the program. So would there be an opportunity, and you don't have to answer this right now, but as whatever develops, is there an opportunity for a student to come in somewhere midstream? Mm-hmm. Because it could be that some of those families move or decide that they want to go to a different school. So I'm just looking at if you've got whatever classes are coming out of 5th grade, going into 6th, 7th, 8th.
Yeah, we do have new students 2nd through 5th grade from 2 different groups. One of the groups are students who are coming from other dual immersion programs. Let's say San Diego has a dual immersion program. Parents start looking for another dual immersion program to enter their kids at, and they start shopping around, and they'll buy homes or rent homes near a dual immersion program so they can get their kids in. So that's one source. And the second source is we will take newcomer students from other countries that are Spanish speaking. So the student's been in school in Spanish till 3rd grade, they come in. And so they fit right in with the Spanish at 3rd grade level, and then we will provide support in English ELD, English Language Development, for those students. So we have many students, I think at least 8 or 10 newcomers in our program right now. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I have 8 people who would like to address the board on this issue, and if you guys would like to hear that now, it's actually 9, and when we get to the 8/9, we'll talk about why I got 2 names on one card, but ready to go, or, okay. So at this point, the board will take comment from the public on the agendized item, and if I do not pronounce your name correctly, which I will do, please reintroduce yourself when you come up to the mic. Each speaker will have 3 minutes, and we want to hear from you. So our first speaker is Denise Zochi, and then it'll be Lita Q after that.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Make sure that's, I can't hear you, so.
Maybe move it down, hon.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Is this better? Okay. Good evening, NUSD Board and Superintendent Derby. My name is Denise Zochi, and I'm the mother of a current Linwood kindergartner and a future Linwood student. My husband and I moved here about a year ago in August of 2021 with zero ties to Novato or this community. We moved here specifically for the dual immersion program. One of the examples Carolina was mentioning earlier. In fact, we instructed our realtor only to search in the Linwood district because I wasn't willing to take a chance. Now we own a home, and I believe that we're not the only ones who have been drawn to or can be drawn to Novato as a result of this dual immersion program. I'm Latina, my husband is white. This program is incredibly unique in that it provides our mixed family a place where both of our languages and cultures are validated and represented equally. That's really rare. I know because I'm first generation and I'm giving something to my kids that was not available to me. Incorporating this into our kids' education truly preserves the richness of our family's heritage in a way that little else can. Today, I ask you to consider the extension of the program into middle school, not just so that my own children can continue to reap the benefits that brought us here to Novato, but also so that we can continue to grow and enrich Novato's community in this very same way. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Lydia Q, and then it'll be Ita Gonzalez. And
hello, good afternoon, board. My name is Lydia K, and I am the mother of a 2nd and 4th grader at Linwood Elementary. I had come here with a plan. I had bullet points and statistics and so on, but I think you guys have gotten all of that. You know, there's a very good report out there, and I'm sure it'll be repeated quite a bit. But today I wanted to speak, scratch that out and speak about my own experience. I came here at the age of 8, and like Maria said, programs like this weren't available. The difficulty that I still have an accent, I still second guess myself, like when I stand up in front of people, I start shaking, getting nervous because I don't know what I'm saying, if it's in English or Spanish. But, and even as a bilingual mother, I had my girls and I said, I want them to speak both English and Spanish. So at home, it was Spanish. Outside of the house, it was English. That was my thought. When Linwood came around and they started talking about the dual immersion program, I said, yes, I'll support it 100%. My daughter was from the 2nd group that came into the dual immersion program. And the benefits that it has had for her, like with me, she would speak a street Spanish, what I learned at home, what I learned with family. It's different than like a textbook Spanish, which is needed. She can read, they both can read in English and Spanish, writing in English and Spanish, and speaking in English and Spanish, not only to their friends, but, I'm thinking in the long term, thinking when they're trying to get a job, adding that extra bonus to their paychecks because they are bilingual. And it's not just speaking it, they could translate, we have Isabel back there who's a great interpreter in the meetings and so on. And having those opportunities starts now. Elementary school, going into middle school, because it really just kind of pushes that learning, that like keeping the knowledge of the language through middle school, high school, the seal of bilingual in their high school diploma, moving on to college. It just follows, gives them a path for a better future than I had, than many of us had. And I just hope you guys support it as much as we at the school do. Thank you so much for your time.
thank you. Next is Ida Gonzalez, followed by Amaya. Amaya. Thank you. Be sure to introduce yourself when you get up there. Thank you. I'm a perfect example of a...
Good evening, trustees and Superintendent Derby. It's nice to see everyone tonight. My name is Ita Gonzalez, and I am a teacher at Linwood Elementary School. I am also a proud Linwood Tiger parent of a 2nd and 3rd grader. My journey did not begin in Linwood as a teacher, but as a student myself. many years ago, I won't say how long, okay, I was one of only a handful of Hispanic students on campus. Spanish is my first language, learning English later. I remember the difficulties of my own education being an emergent bilingual. I would sit through class and not understand what my peers were working on or what they were discussing. I do remember the kind teachers that would make the effort to sit with me one-on-one and try to explain and guide me through projects. But that model wasn't sustainable, not for the teacher and not for myself. Linwood is no longer the school I went to when I was a student. The dual immersion program at Linwood has opened an opportunity for emergent bilinguals today to learn a second language, all while being supported in their home language. Mastering a new language improves a student's communication skills and helps them understand more about how language works. They are learning how to express themselves in new ways, how to form sentences, which words to use, and how to be clearly understood by their audience. They will also gain confidence in their ability to speak in public, whether that's in their second language or their first language. In a research article, The Astounding Effectiveness of a Dual Language Education for All, written by Collier and Wayne, Collier and Thomas studied the benefits of students who were in a dual language program for longer periods beyond 5th grade into 7th and 8th grade. They indicated that longer the students remained in a dual language program, the greater the opportunity for closing the achievement gap. As fully proficient bilingual students outperform monolinguals in the areas of divergent thinking, pattern recognition, and problem solving. Board members, over the last 2.5 years, I have seen firsthand the development of my students and my own children speaking in a second language. The shy and timid, native and non-native students have now become capable students speaking in a second language. This Linwood is the school I wish I had access to when I was a student. Thank you.
Okay, so I figured it out. These are two first names. So you guys are up. So come on up.
You guys want to come over here? So share the mic. Okay,
Hi, my name's Amaya, and I will be saying this thing in Spanish. Hola, mi nombre es Amaya, y yo quiero seguir el programa de doble inmersión en escuela y TED-MEDIC porque yo quiero hablar más español. Me gusta aprender español y yo necesito aprender más palabras. También quiero conectar con más personas aquí y alrededor del mundo. Gracias por escucharme. Ojalá que vote sí para el programa doble inmersión para escuelas intermedias.
Okay. We're also going to do a translation. Hi, my name is Maya, and I want to keep doing the program for double immersion in middle school because I want to learn more Spanish. I like to learn Spanish, and I need to learn more words too. I also want to be able to connect with people here and around the world. Thank you for listening. I hope that you vote yes for the program double immersion for middle school. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Caroline, and that'll be followed by Tim Flanagan.
Hola, mi nombre es Carolyn Cook. Empezó en Linwood en el primer grado sin saber español y ahora soy en el quinto grado y puedo leer Harry Potter en español. Yo quiero que el programa de español continúe en la escuela secundaria porque no quiero que mis compañeros y yo pierden su habilidad de hablar en español. Si el programa no continúa en la escuela secundaria, sería hasta el 8º grado que tenía la oportunidad de escoger si quería seguir aprendiendo español. Por esas razones quiero que el programa de español continúe en la escuela secundaria. Gracias. Hi, my name is Carolyn Cook. I started at Linwood in 1st grade without knowing any Spanish and am now in 5th grade and can read Harry Potter in Spanish. I would like the Spanish program to continue into middle school because I don't want my classmates and I to lose our Spanish speaking ability. If the program does not continue into middle school, students will not get a chance to choose if they want to continue learning Spanish until 8th grade. For these reasons, I would like the dual immersion program to continue into middle school. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Tim Flanagan, and he'll be followed by Eden Thieblow.
Well, good evening, everyone. Tim Flanagan. I'm actually a little bit jealous of your jobs. You've got all these kids running around your office talking to you. So I'm also a public servant, and I share that with you. I work in my official capacity with elected such as yourselves. And as such, I really recognize and understand the challenges that you face in balancing the interests of your community with the resources that you have available. So much respect to you. I'm a father of a Linwood student. I'm a resident of the Linwood School District. And I just wanted to share what a treasure this program is for these children, what a gift it is for them to grow up fluent and bilingual in Spanish. This program is an anchor for me and my family to stay in Novato. It is a magnet for young families that are starting out to consider relocating to Novato for this special program. And I just wanted to come here today to urge you to continue this investment in these children. If we were to stop this investment now, that anchor might feel lifted for these families, and the fabric that this has been building in this community will be diminished. So I want you to maybe close just in self-reflection and ask yourselves if you would wish yourselves to be bilingual and fluent in another language, Spanish, or if you benefit today from already being bilingual, and ask you to give that gift and continue that gift to these children. So let's keep Novato special. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is Eden Thieblow. I can't read. Next is, and then after that I'll have, I think this is two people, Naja and Gabby would be next.
It's two people.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name's Eden Tebow, and I'm a second grade teacher at Linwood. And I just wanted to talk about, well, I've been a Spanish immersion teacher at two other schools before I came to Linwood, but I came before the program started. So I remember really clearly that all through the process of getting this program off the ground, there was always the intention of having a middle school afterwards. And even from the very beginning when we were just talking about the school and we had a task force, and the middle school option was always one that we wanted. And excuse me, as a mother of a bilingual son, I can tell you that it takes commitment and it takes a lot of time. And the more time the students have in a bilingual program, the more successful they're going to be in being bilingual. And so I think it's really important to see this whole idea this whole program in its completion and to give us a chance to see this vision in its entirety. Thank you.
Okay, so I think our next speakers are Naja Pasco and Gabby Meselin. So come on up and introduce yourself, and then after that we'll have Patrick Vanessa.
Hi, my name is Naya. I'm going to be talking in Spanish and then in English. Me encantaría tener inmersión dual en la escuela intermedia para que todos que van a Linwood puedan tener la oportunidad de hablar con fluidez y confianza en español. Mi mamá y yo siempre hablamos de lo bueno que sería para mí hablar español con fluidez. Yo puedo tener un mejor trabajo y cuando nos vamos en vacaciones donde la gente habla español será más fácil para mí. Muchos adultos y niños que me presentó piensan que es increíble que yo pueda hablar español e inglés.
Hello, my name is Gabriela Macion, and I will be speaking in Spanish, then I'll translate in English. Me encantaría que la inmersión dual continuara hasta el 8º grado porque realmente disfruto el español y no puedo imaginar a escuelas sin español. Si continúa la inmersión dual, sería pediatra y no necesitará traductor porque yo conozco 3 lenguajes.
I would love to have dual immersion in middle school so everyone that goes to Linwood can have the opportunity to be fluent and feel confident with their Spanish. My mom and I always talk about how nice it would be for me to be fluent in Spanish, to have better jobs, and for going on vacation where people speak Spanish. A lot of adults and kids who I introduce myself to think it's amazing I know how to speak Spanish and English.
I would be very happy to have dual immersion continue through 8th grade because I really enjoy Spanish and I can't imagine school without Spanish. If dual immersion continues, I would be a pediatrician and I wouldn't need a translator because I know I'm trilingual.
All right, thank you. And our last speaker, Patrick Vanessa.
Good evening, Trustee and everybody. This is my last minute things, and it just moved me to come up here. And I was the first parents that heard about the dual immersion with Mr. V. He was the principal at Linwood, and I didn't know what ELAC was back then. And I went to the meeting, and then I don't know what they're talking about because they speak Spanish. So. And I went to the PTA meeting, and we talked about the dual immersion, and I didn't even know what it was. Then they keep educate me about this, and I was like, it's not a bad idea because I have 2 kids. My son is 14; he's in high school, and my daughter, she's in 4th grade, and she started dual immersion when it started, and my daughter always wanted to speak Spanish, and because she went to daycare with the Spanish daycare center, and she came home and she doesn't know what she was. She said something in Spanish, and I asked her, "What would you say?" And she said that I just make that up, in Spanish, and and it's like it just touched me that this program has moved this far. I mean. I was skeptical at first, and I was thinking, all this, they would talk about this issue and how we're going to lose the teachers and, how we're going to get a new teachers in. And now look, 5 years later, 4 years later, it got to this far. I mean, it's like my daughter speaks Spanish, and I think we're the only Asian family in Novato, and it's amazed me that to see my daughters communicate with the parents in Spanish, and it's like, I wish I could know how to speak Spanish, because, if you know how to speak Spanish, Chinese, and English, you could go anywhere around the world. So, and Spanish is one of their And it's for a lifetime. It's just not for, today or tomorrow. So, Spanish is a language arts, and I'm glad that they have this program, and this is a very special program for other kids. And thank you for your support. We need to team up with you and to make this happen and to grow. And this is for our kids' futures. So, thank you for your hard work too. Thank you.
All right, and thank you, everybody. We appreciate hearing from everyone. So we're going to take it back to the board, and this is currently a staff report, so we're going to want to discuss it amongst ourselves, get some clarifying questions as necessary, and then hopefully come up with some direction for staff on how to proceed. So Trustee Aguila, you got your hand up over there, so do you want to start off on our discussion?
Yes, I just wanted to say that not only were the students able to speak in Spanish, and it was, if you notice, it wasn't just Latino students speaking Spanish, but it was American students speaking Spanish, which shows you the win-win again. And I wanted to just say, not only were they able to speak it, but their pronunciation was amazing, just amazing. So I don't know what the teachers at Linwood are doing, but whatever they're doing, keep it up, And the second thing is, this was so fascinating. I've been wanting to go to the bathroom since it started, and now I get to go.
Okay, so I just want to let the board remind that we're looking at two options currently. So as we discuss it or ask questions and make comments, the staff is looking for some direction on option 1, option 2, combination, maybe option 3. So Trustee Butler. Trustee Mack is...
Okay, all right. Looking at the options, as you said, option 1, little hesitant in leaving a group of kids for just 6th grade. Maybe if you could talk about that, Superintendent Derby. Is there a benefit, or is there a reasoning that this was an option of leaving a group there and then sending them over to 7th and 8th? We all know middle school is a tough leap, and so I have a little bit of reservation there of leaving a class of a strand of students at Linwood for 6th grade and then having them transition over to 7th and 8th.
I would just speak to that to say that we didn't know if when we were trying to look at the two options, do we need a full year to develop the strategic plan? And would that be easier just to not have a start for a year from now? But I think the fact that the team wants to bring in a consultant, I think we could get it done and get the kids to middle school and start it, next fall in August, and to have the structure in place for the middle school, because the transition to middle school, as you said, is kind of a big one. As you know, most of you have had middle school kids moving, and it worries me a little bit to have one group of students as 6th graders and then trying to start at 7th when everybody's been together all that time. I think the transition is kind of tough anyway. So I would say that we were just looking at it because we were in terms of needing more time, but I think that starting a full 6-8 program, so that some of the parents that spoke tonight said they purposely came here for this reason and wanted dual immersion, and I think that would attract more parents to have a solid program at the middle school.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that. That sort of helps me quite a bit then. I would definitely be leaning towards option 2 to make this successful. When we started this in 2015, we started dual immersion conversations. And we put it on pause because we wanted to do it right, and so I think we're on that path. We need some enrollment. We need this, so all your parents get out there and get this dual immersion program boosted in enrollment would be ideal. I would really like to see that. I know it means more teachers and everything, but it is a good. You all spoke tonight and the positive of the program, and I think we all know that. Many of us voted for this program, and so hearing it from you just solidifies it for me even more, the success of it, and I think it could even do even better. So
having a full trickulating into San Jose completely 6th, 7th, and 8th is a better option. So that's where I'm leaning towards.
All right, Trustee Mack.
I completely agree. Option 2, I think, is the way to go. We need it's the best thing for the kids to, as we know, middle school is a big jump, and to delay that jump, and then for them to have only 2 years to get acclimated into that jump doesn't help them. So I think we need to do everything we can. Now, I need to better understand the challenge ahead of us before I fully weigh in on it, but I'm totally inclined to go that route. And I think the San Jose community is the community that can do it. They did it with 2 weeks notice this fall. Now, granted, I know there's some staffing challenges right now, but I know that community can do it, and I know this Linwood community can do it because a lot of you are going to be at San Jose. So I've got faith. I think you guys can do it, and let's do it. I really want to see this program get into middle school and really fulfill the promise we talked about from day one. So,
very good. All right, Trustee Gaston.
I actually have a question or a clarification. I originally was thinking it was either the school would remain K through or TK through 6 at Linwood, and then just 7th and 8th. But what about the next year? Because I'm wondering, the next year, would it be 6th, 7th, 8th at San Jose?
The way the program works is that the kids matriculate to the next grade. Now, if we wanted to start with 6th grade and then pursue 7th grade, is that what you're asking?
Well, I guess in my head I was thinking that if we went with option, I don't even know, was it 1, that they would remain?
Right.
I was originally thinking then it was just for the 1 year.
Yeah, but we would have a 6th grade and a 7th grade there that second year, because we'd have 5th graders coming from Linwood that would go to 6th grade, and then we'd have the 6th grades going to 7th grade. So there would be, if you did option 1, that's the way it would go.
I think I'm still not following. I guess what I was wondering is if we just temporarily did the 6th grade at Linwood,
right?
Then but for 1 year,
right?
And then that way, when they go to San Jose, you'd have the 6th and 7th grade. You'd be a bigger cluster of students in the second year. Is that the intent of that, or was it just? I guess I'm trying to define, is it if we did the 6th grade stays, is it always going to stay, or is it just for a transitionary
No, it's only
year?
for 1 year.
Okay, so just for 1 year. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Jacobson.
I would like to know for when this comes back or at some point, so we'd need to hire a special credentialed teacher at San Jose for 6th grade, and then would that be the teacher that then would teach 7th grade and 8th grade? We'd just cluster those classes
It could be,
appropriately?
or we would need to hire more depending on the number of students. We might be getting more, so we would want more. If the core is what is taught, you can do 2 cores plus an additional section. So the teacher might need to be a 1.2. But if we could get 2 teachers, because we could expand the program and have 2 groups of 6th graders or 2 groups of 7th graders, then we could offer more things because we would have B-clad teachers. But the credentialing at the middle school is different. So you're a multiple subject B-clad, but you really can't teach outside of those subjects. So you could teach a 6th grade core, English and history, a 7th grade English and history, and then you could teach another period English or history, but you can't teach out of the credential. Yeah, it's just a little different at the middle school, the credentialing.
Trustee Mook, do you have any questions or comments?
Comments, yeah. First off, I work in the city and I work at a university, and my students speak Tagalog and Farsi and Hindi and Russian, Portuguese, Spanish and Chinese, Vietnamese, Japanese. The notion that I only speak English is I'm a duck out of water. The world I live in is a multicultural world. I think it's unfortunate in the United States multilingual skills is not normal. If you live in Europe, you cross boundaries normally, and it is unusual that a person speaks only one language, and some speak 7 or 8, and I don't. But some of my students, a few, have multiple language skills like that. I think that your ability to think and work and in multiple languages improves your cognitive abilities and your thinking abilities and your abilities to solve problems. I work in the computer field, and multilingual spoken skills is a precursor to being able, is an indicator to being good at Python and C and Java and all those written languages that computers speak. So I think this is a hidden gem for this town and for our students. And it seems to me, and what I don't want to do is prevent young children from having, well, they'll love the middle school experience. As parents, you will hate it. Your young, sweet, dear darlings are all of a sudden these beasts that are on TikTok and Instagram, and but they're entitled to that. They need to do that. I would support the middle school alternative because I think those children need to go through that experience and be ready for growing into high school and university and other career paths. But I would like to find ways to make this program stronger and bigger. And clearly, the people who will help do that are sitting in this room. So I'm all in favor of advancing this program, but I would like to do the thinking about how can we take that intellectual skill of being a multilingual person and make it be an asset that we give to all of our students in Nevada, all 8,000 of them. So, I mean, obviously you can tell where I'm going to vote, but so that's my 2 cents is, let's go. And sooner the better.
It was more like a nickel, trustee. All right. Do we have a comment for all 100? Go ahead.
So I guess I'm a little confused. So for option 1, for the 6th grade integration into Linwood, would the core curriculum then stop at that 6th grade and then not continue for 7th and 8th? Or would they then go to San Jose?
They just would not come until 7th grade.
Got it.
So they wouldn't be at the middle school for 6th grade. They would just start at 7th grade. But there already will be a 5th grade class there that year. So that year, the year that we start the current 5th graders into 7th grade, there will be a 6th grade matriculation as well.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I explained before, I think this is great. I think coming from a student's perspective, I think something that as adults and parents you don't often think about is things outside of just Spanish language culture. I think these classes and courses that are being offered in Spanish are not the only things that are going to be on these students' minds, specifically in middle school, which is a time of exploration where you're offered electives and kids really are encouraged to take different classes. And from what it sounds like, I don't think this would be a program that would hire a separate teacher for every single class, for every single elective to be credentialed. That's where I'm a little worried about. That's what I'm a little worried about is because 50% of their instruction will have to be in Spanish, they will ultimately have electives and classes that you can only take, they can't take 10 classes, right? So there would be a certain amount of electives that if they wanted to pursue, they would not be able to pursue because of the 50% Spanish requirement. Now, I don't know if this is like a binding process, if it's something once they opt into, they can't opt out of it. Can they opt into it 6th grade wise and then opt out 7th grade or 8th grade? It's just something to think about because it sounds great. It's a great thing, but as these kids near high school, especially 8th grade, which is an extremely important grade, especially when you get ready to get all your high school credits or your credits to get into high school. There are classes that kids are going to want to take, and will this become an issue later on is what I'm worried about. That's just what I'm thinking. But yeah.
The middle school only has a 6-period day, unlike the high school that has a 7-period day for options. So the offerings are limited already more than they are at the high school. You all can take, some people have been taking 8 periods a day, depending on who's doing what, if you're in STEM and all of that. I don't think, I'm not worried about that because I think the kids would be taking their core and they would still get all the electives. So I don't think, I'm going to hope not to worry about that. I don't see it as an issue. And if it becomes an issue, then we address it. and say, these are the changes that need to be made. But I think it's important for you to surface what you're worried about as a student, because that's what we need to hear from people like you. So that was great.
Any more comments? Okay.
I did have a comment. So I actually went to Lingwood when I was in elementary school, and I really wish this program would have been offered when I was there. I think it is a really good program, and we should. I totally am in favor of this. But I do have a question. So, a question. So, like Alejandro said, I also went to San Jose, so at San Jose they do have a lot of different programs, like the band programs and stuff like that, the arts, and I can't remember the other ones. But I was just thinking, like, those kids that are going to be moving into San Jose with those classes and them being taught 50% in Spanish, would the teachers that are already at San Jose also get like classes or take a course to learn a little bit more, or even learn Spanish for those kids that are going to be coming in and do need that Spanish curriculum?
Okay, you guys are just clarifying for me. I just realized what your question is, so this is good. The English and history will be taught completely in Spanish. Those are the two classes that will constitute the 50% of the day. The rest of the classes would go in English, with the exception if we can figure out an additional elective that might be in Spanish as well. But right now, what we're looking at is the core being taught in Spanish. We have a fabulous Maria Crott, who is the Spanish teacher at. Did you have Maria at all, Stephanie?
No, I didn't take Spanish. I took Avid, but
Oh,
I
took
did
Avid.
know who she was.
Okay, so she's lovely, and right now she's only teaching one section of Spanish.
Yeah.
And the rest of her classes are ELD, but she would be one that we would want to tap into for potential electives to expand the opportunities for additional Spanish classes. But just like all of the kids that go there, they take a core, 6th grade core, English, you may remember this,
Yeah.
English and history is combined. And then 7th grade the same, and 8th grade the same. So all of the offerings, the other offerings that for all of the kids would be the same. All the electives would have, Avid definitely for 7th and 8th grade, and band and vocal music and art and all of those things. So they would have the wheel, or they would have a particular elective. So yeah, but I just figured out what you guys were asking me, so that's good.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is option 2.
I'm hearing that generally,
Yeah.
yes.
So,
Okay.
and we're gonna have to figure that out, and I think referring to it as a strand maybe is probably the best thing for this point. So, just so you know, I completely support the program. I think it's madness that we live in a community, a state, a country that only wants to speak one language. It's a multilingual world, and this program is the beginning, just the beginning, in my opinion. So I want to see it succeed, but it cannot and it will not succeed to its full potential without you, the parents and the community, stepping up and supporting it with whatever you can do, and bring us students and financial support to boost the program, et cetera. So that would be, if anything, if it comes out of this today, it's that when it comes to public education and public schools, we cannot do it without our communities and our parents. So please, this is great that you're all here. Continue to work with us, and let's make this a successful program going forward. So having said that, I think I'll go ahead and move on, unless the trustees have something else they'd like to add. Okay, so I want to thank everyone for being here, but it's time for us to move on to our next agenda item, and I look forward to seeing everybody 10 times again going forward. Okay, so we're going to move on to Measure G bond sale results. This is the sale of our bonds to fund our Measure G facility improvements. We're going to have Lois Standing, our Chief Financial Officer, introduce Lori Ranieri from Government Financial Services
Lori is back with her dog.
with her dog and her bond sales. So,
And who's your driver, Lori? Who's your driver?
I'll introduce her when I get
Okay, please do.
So a lot has happened since the last time Lori was here. We had a very successful bond sale, and she's here to tell the details and summarize.
We're delighted
With
to have
Millie.
her back. Whoops. Okay.
I have with me Celestial Thomas, my assistant, and she takes me all over Northern California. And this is Millie. You might not recognize her because she's about twice as big as when we were here before. And being having an interest in economics, I have calculated that 1 pound of kibble produces about 2 pounds of dog. And so she was growing about 2 pounds a week, and I thought, okay, maybe that'll level off and go down, but it appears to be a percentage thing. Now she's growing 3 pounds a week. So let me just find my presentation on the computer. There we go. And I do this here, right? Or did I just screw it up? Okay.
I'm just going to full screen it for you.
Okay. I think I could do that. No? You'll do it for me. 'Cause- There we go.
And then arrows
Thank you.
up and down.
Okay, don't touch anything else or I'll screw it up, right, Ellen? Okay, so thank you. It's very nice to be here. And I really enjoyed the discussion of dual immersion. And we have really good news. So some of you might have heard it, but I'm here to tell you the story my way. And so the first thing is we'll do a brief review of the Measure G plan, the bond sale process, what happened in terms of sale results, next steps, and then there was some for reference material. So as a reminder, Measure G had a 58% yes vote in 2016, and it authorized $220 million of bonds. And what we just sold was the last part of that $222 million, and it was only $15 million, so much smaller than our other sales. And there's 2 sales in 2017 that were really one. They were sold together on one prospectus, the $47 million for facilities and the $4 million for technology. So this was the smallest of the Measure G sales. And one of the things that I want to compliment you on is that the district used several best practices. And these are not best practices of just things that we think would be a good idea. I mean, we have lots of ideas, but these are actually published by the Government Finance Officers Association, and they have a whole series of debt management best practices that they publish, and these are the ones that the district utilized. Now, one of the things that you might not realize is that the district has the second highest credit rating, AA1. The only thing higher than that is AAA. So that's a really good rating. And if you haven't had a chance to read, Moody's now calls their credit, it's called a credit opinion. They used to call it a credit report. And then the 2008 financial crisis happened, and they were accused of not being correct. And they said, well, it's just an opinion. But if you want to read an opinion that's very flattering to you, I would recommend you read the credit opinion, and Lois has it. But it does talk a lot about the management steps that the district has taken in a very challenging environment. And so I think that's nice that that was noted. And it results in something good for taxpayers very directly, because having that high rating helped us do very well with this bond sale. So what happened? Well, at the top we have a little picture of the calendar that people all over the United States who buy bonds, and when I say people, I mean firms, very few individuals would be involved in this, if any, but they can all look this up online, and we use a system called Parity, and we had a competitive sale on October 12th, and the bids were due at 9:05. Now you might wonder why 9:05. Well, this is going to make me sound really old, but early on when I got into this business, I was really concerned about missing a best bid because it was a few minutes late. So I always scheduled the bids for 5 minutes after the hour, because I'd be happy to take a 4-minute late bid if it saved our client money. And we've kept that up, and it's kind of a humorous thing with our bidders. Most of the people that have been bidding with us for years, they always kind of laugh, oh yeah, I know, 9:05. So that's kind of fun. And we use this internet process to notify bidders. People sign up, they receive reminder emails to bid, just like an Evite, except it's in the bond world. And we also post in the Bond Buyer, that's our industry newspaper, sort of like the Wall Street Journal for municipal bonds. And any bank or underwriter in the country is allowed to bid. And one of the things that we think is very important is we're extremely flexible within the parameters. And we actually went over this on the sale day. There's lots of things in the computer system where we could restrict bidders. They can't do this, they can't do that. We like to give them as much flexibility, because the more flexibility they have, the more ways they have to make money. And we want them to make money because we're going to choose the person who's willing to make the least. And so we want to attract all the bidders that we can. So the more competition, we think the better. Now, what was the market that we were going into? You've heard about interest rates going up, but I think this is a really interesting chart, because you can see that interest rates were not that much higher than they were when the Measure G bond election went forward, and they were actually very close to when the first series of bonds were sold. So we have this feeling about things are going up. Well, not everything is going up, and I will tell you, I think you know that I have this dog because I have a seizure condition, and I was having a lot of seizures lately, and someone said, why do you think that is? And I said, it's the supply chain and global warming, because that's what we blame everything on. But my point is, people think that everything is going up because some of the things that they buy the most, they see those prices, right? Like gas, for example. But not everything is going up. And even though interest rates have been going up over this period, you can see they're just getting back to where they were when Measure G was approved. One of the things that was really exciting is we had 5 students from Golden Gate University, and I think every one of those appeared to me to be someone who probably spoke another language. I would just say appearance, so maybe that's my bias, but based on the last names. Anyway, they all spoke English during our sale, which was nice. And we prepared a set of materials for them. And if you're interested, Lois can email that to you. Well, she can't email that, it's too thick. You can have it downloaded for you. But we provided them with a lot of information, and it was kind of fun for us to try and explain to those students what we were doing. And one of the reasons it's interesting is hardly anybody who is getting an MBA would learn anything about the municipal bond market. And before I switch, I'll share something that we shared with them, which is the bond market in America is 4 times the size of the stock market plus NASDAQ. So most people don't understand just how much money is moving through the bond market and how influential it is to our economy. And that includes U.S. Treasury bonds. But the other thing that's interesting is anybody who lives anywhere in America probably is living in a community where at least at some point municipal bonds were issued and some public infrastructure was provided. So I think it's very important, and you can see that my dog is yawning, and so she doesn't think it's so important. Okay, here's another interesting thing. Most of these bonds will be held by California taxpayers because they're double tax-free, meaning that if you hold a municipal bond issued by the Nevada Unified School District with that AA1 credit rating, it is tax-free on a federal income tax basis, and if you are a California taxpayer, it is tax-free on a state income tax basis. So that is the audience for these bonds, but look where the bids came from. All over the United States, but not from California. So you might be wondering, well, what's that all about? These firms that were bidding so they could sell to their California clients, right? Because it's a national market. So you might have, if you do business with Fidelity, they're headquartered in Boston, right? So you might even have a local Fidelity broker that you deal with, but the headquarters is in Boston. That's where they're bidding from. The other thing that was really interesting is we had several bidders that we had never had a bid from before. And that's interesting because we do this all the time. We know the bidders. And one of the things I shared with the students is the firms might be different, the people might be the same, because people go to a new firm and this is how they know to do it. But you can see all over the country, StoneX was a new bidder. TD Securities was our winning bidder. You're going to see that. We know them, but they have not bid before. So 12 bids, and we've been doing this since the late 80s, but we only started tracking the number of bids in a database in 2003, and we never did this chart before, but we decided to take a look at it, and you can see just how rare it is that we even get over 8 bids. And so what was going on in the market? Well, we got really lucky, almost nothing. And so we can't control that, but we were very attractive because there wasn't a lot of other things to bid on. And so you can see that the experience that we had is less than 1% of our experience. So there were very few bonds coming to market. On the calendar of what's coming to the market, we can see that it's published by the bond buyer, and these bonds were the only California general obligation bonds for sale by any kind of issuer, state, school district, city, whatever, and the only of 2 California bonds coming. And the size of the bonds appealed to small and medium bidders, so not a lot of activity, and we had something that appealed to everyone, right? Because a big bidder can buy it and a small bidder can buy it. And of course, the strong credit quality that I've mentioned. So here's our bids, and one of the things I like about this chart is it shows you the true interest cost, which is how we award the winning bid, but you can see the dollar difference. So we're selling $15 million worth of bonds, and the cover bid, the second place bidder, is only $1,480 worse than the first place bid. So one of the things that tells us is we don't think the first place bidder made a mistake, right? Because someone else got very close. So we care a lot if the cover bid is really far away from the top bid, because we wonder if there was an information problem, but that confirmed that there was not. And then you can see Huntington, which is a very good bidder. They've won sales with us before, over $250,000 difference. So it was the competitive sale, in my opinion, that brings that out. I don't think you would get even bids this good if you just picked the underwriter and negotiated. And as we talked about when I was here last time, the district has a policy of doing a competitive sale. And we explained we do a competitive style, but we do it under the negotiated statute, and that allows us to do some final corrections, and just really good. And you can see, in fact, our final correction, the winning bid was at 3.461%, but we made corrections 3.451993% in the small print. But when we make those corrections to make it better for you, right? We're taking the rates that we got and we're improving the structure. Okay, then in other ways, this was really good. We got more premium, and that premium is received and deposited right in the tax payment fund that helps to pay off the bonds. So that's good for taxpayers. We had a lower underwriter's discount, lower cost of issuance, and more funds for facilities. And in those last two, the middle two, lower underwriter's discount, lower costs of issuance, those were better than all the other series of the Measure G bonds. So really, we did much better than before. Another metric that people like, and you might remember this, it's kind of a while ago, but there was a scandal with people paying, a district that paid 10-1 back on its bonds, and it made the New York Times. And anyway, so now we pay attention to what is the amount we're paying back for every dollar borrowed. It's like a new statistic that we like to look at. And the Measure G bonds, despite the fact that the interest rate market was higher than the B or C bonds, we're actually significantly lower than all of our other bonds. Now, one of the reasons was it was a little bit shorter, but it was also the fact that we had all those bids. So good news there. And then more good news, how does this translate for the taxpayers? You can see that our projected taxes are under the $60 maximum, and by going shorter, we were able to get that lower cost and get that lower amount of interest that we'll be paying back. So next steps. Tomorrow is October 26th, I just realized, and the funds will be received at the county treasury. And so I'll just say congratulations and thank you. It's been an honor to work on this project with you, and our team is more than me. You've met Celestial, and she does more than just drive me around, but that is one of the things that she enjoys doing. But we have a whole team of people who work very hard to make this happen, and everybody in our shop was really excited about this result because it really was extraordinary. So I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, questions, comments, Trustee
First,
Lori?
thank you, Lori. The students had an opportunity to see industry in action like you said, the butter market is huge. It is an extraordinary opportunity for them, and my thanks to you. I'm going to take the slide deck that we got tonight, and they'll go in their hands, and I'm going to see if I can get the YouTube channel in behind me to cut out this presentation and put it into their syllabus for this month's lesson. So what a wonderful opportunity. Thank you very much. Yeah, you bet. You bet.
Hey, we got applause.
Education in action. You bet. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Any more questions or comments? Okay.
And for great pricing.
Yes.
Yeah.
We definitely want to express our appreciation for the work you do and looking after us on the bond market sale. And then thanks again for doing a good job. Appreciate it. I'll see you again soon, I hope.
And I'll bring a bigger dog.
Well, you just keep feeding him. I mean, this is good. This is good. Celeste, thank you very much. It's always good to see you as well.
Okay, so we're going to go to 12C, which is the Nevada Unified School District TK8 Athletic and Playfield Update, and our Chief Financial Officer, Lois Standring, and our Facilities Director, Tony Albini, are going to present.
Hi. We're here to talk about the district fields, not the artificial turf ones, but all the other ones, the ones that take water and weeding and, well, our artificial turf actually takes weeding too, so can't say that. So we're trying to bring this to you on a district-wide perspective. This issue came to everyone's attention because of the particular condition at Sinaloa Field, and we'll talk about that. But we wanted to say that's one field, and it's in bad shape, but so are many other fields. And we would like tonight to get some direction on what you see, what you would like to see as our Plan B. We have a plan, and it was outlined in the board cover tonight. I think the other thing I would add that's a perspective we have to also think about as we do this, we've talked about the bond money and we've talked about deferred maintenance, so it's a bigger picture. I mean, the fields are very important. Our children do sports on them, they play on them, they have recess on them. They need to be safe for our students. They are used by our community partners, all the different ball clubs and sports teams that use them. They need to, that's a limited commodity in Nevada. We're happy to be able to work with them to provide fields for their use. But we also have limited funds, so we have to think about what's the best way to balance it all and try and figure out how do we use the limited funds that we have. Just a little umbrella thought. So I don't want to really get into real detail. What we provided was a basic list of the fields, what condition they're in. Lo and behold, the 3 fields where we have recycled water are in pretty good shape. Amazing what water can do. We are limited with our water. There may be opportunities for some exemptions, but how much do we want to do that when the whole community is struggling with lack of water? So that's a conversation to have. And this is a basic plan. I think we can produce a much more detailed, scheduled plan so that people will really know what's happening. And that goes back to the 4 steps that we talked about in the board cover. The first would be to develop an evaluation of each field, look at who uses it, what it needs to be used for, what condition does it really need to be in. We have been working all year on the rodent issue that is most of our fields. So that's one thing that we're getting to see what our work has helped, how much it has helped. There's an initial going to keep that up. There's no clear, definite solution that ends that problem. So we have the rodents, we have the water, we have the weeds. We want to establish a schedule. That would be this chart made into detail of ongoing maintenance. And that would include how we can use our current staff, because as we know, there's many things that need to be done by our grounds workers. This is one of them. There would be some work by maintenance also with irrigation and things, so we have to figure all that out. And then we need to work with our partners, our community partners, the teams, get all the agreements, analyze the agreements, try to treat everyone fairly and the same, and figure out how they can help us, how we can use their skills and knowledge to help maintain the fields that they use to the degree that they need them, because their needs are generally more precise than what a school need is for a field. Tony is here to answer any kind of maintenance questions that you may have about what's going on now or what plans are. We can tell you that tomorrow, it's tomorrow, right? 1:40?
Yes.
Tomorrow at 1:40, the water will be turned off at Sinaloa, and we will be installing the new backflow device that we're hoping, the screen on the backflow device. I'm learning so much about how this works. And we're hoping that that is not a long term, but a fairly long-term solution to allow us to get water back up on the field so that we can.
Cross our fingers, they don't.
Right. So with that, if we're open for questions, discussion, direction, whatever you want to offer us.
So I want to just address the board for a second. This is a staff report, so we're going to have time. This is our time to get some clarification and hopefully come up with some direction, but we're not making any final decisions tonight. We still have quite a bit to go on our discussion action item, so just going to ask us all to be as succinct as possible. It's not that I don't value the fields and the service they provide for these kids. It's just that we've got some business to get to. So let's begin with what you guys would like to get to some additional information on, and then take it from there. So Trustee Casson, and then we'll go Trustee Miller.
Thank you for bringing this forward and the chart showing us what each of the field's conditions are. I think my biggest thing is I want our kids to be safe and to have, fields that we can keep up at least to a standard that we're not having accidents. One of the things that I like the 4 things that you have identified. I think it's important that we do have partnerships with the people and teams that are using our fields. I think that that's been a challenge over the years, and I think the more that we can work together and however you can find that way, that would be fabulous. The recycled water, I'd be interested to know, is that possible to do for any of the other sites? As you're
I think that is something that we need to contact Marin Water and talk to them, the water district, about that. I know that the water goes all the way up to where the golf course is, especially like at San Jose. It heads up that way, but then it stopped because they were going to take it up to the college, but then it stopped. The college, I think, bowed out, and I'm just trying to remember if that's the case. But that's something that we would have to partner with the water district.
Okay. I mean, I would be interested in information encompassing that, because I think that I do have concerns over water use. But the more that we can find other ways as we're developing a plan, if that's a possibility, I don't know how hard it is to have that done. And then finally, this kind of jumps into our next items that we're going to be discussing, but hopefully as we're developing or figuring things out, like I don't know where this backflow thingy is at Sinaloa, but wherever that is that we're having an issue, and I don't know where the water comes from, but if we're looking at doing the Sinaloa track field, the last thing I want to do is have this beautiful thing put and then us have to plow through it to fix something else. So hopefully we have like a global picture of whatever needs to be done. I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth tonight, because I don't like how much stuff is going to cost, but I also don't want to do things that we're not thinking forward and making sure that we're not having more expense later. But if there's things underneath both of these sites that maybe needs to be fixed, I want to fix them now. Again, maybe the water's coming in from some other way or whatever, but I want to make sure that we have that at the forefront of our minds when we're doing this Because the last thing I want to do is say, well, we didn't have the money to fix the darn pipe that's under here that just busted, and we have to then tear up a field or something. So, got that? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Okay. It could be the water's coming from completely different.
I don't believe there's major water pipes under where we're putting the turf field.
Okay, I don't,
No.
that just as long as we have that out there, again, my big
Right.
focus is, let's do stuff so that we're not
We do it once.
creating more work later.
We do it
so.
once and we do it well.
Thank you.
I forgot, Trustee Milk, before I recognize, I forgot to mention that we have 3 public comments, and so this should be the clarifications on what we just heard, questions, and then we can listen to the speaker.
You want to
So-
take the comments now and then we can
Yeah,
bring it back?
that's
to
what
more?
I'm sort of, so if there aren't any like questions you got to ask right now before we hear them, otherwise we'll go to public comment. So appreciate your patience with that. So first is Sasha Vargas King.
Thank you for taking the comments first. I got to go pick up my kids from the school field tournament over at IVC right now. Yeah, I'm sure they're freezing cold. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that I saw this on the agenda because it's been a huge concern of mine. I have played soccer my entire life on all of these fields in Novato, and they've progressively gotten worse over the years. And now that I have my kids playing on these fields, the only one that is lucky is my North Marin United soccer player, and her coach is right here in the back, wanting to speak as well because she's at Hill playing on turf fields. But unfortunately, my kindergarten's, actually my TKer, my son, and the other kindergarten children in Novato are playing at San Ramon. And I found it very interesting that on the chart that was presented or that's attached on the agenda, that San Ramon is written as acceptable. And I don't know what the measure is for that. I guess my question is, if someone can answer, what is good, acceptable, poor? What is the measure of that? Because every kid that I see fall down, which is, we're talking about TKers and kindergartners that are learning how to play soccer. Every time they fall, they come up with scratches and, bloody knees and elbows, and it's dirt. It's dirt, and then those little prickly things that get stuck to your, I'm not the master gardener, I'm so sorry, that get stuck to your socks and all those things. The kids are hurting themselves constantly. I'm rolling my ankle just to even get out there. And it's worse on the boys' field for whatever reason than the girls' field. I don't know why. And then going to Loma Verde, that seems completely off balance of the my first grader plays on at Loma Verde, and just the watering, it's always mushy and overwatered, and then dry in some areas. I see that for the what needs to be done, it needs to be calibrated or something. I don't know anything about this, but just overall, it just seems we really need an overhaul. Our kids, our organizations, I'm a soccer mom, we want to partner. I'm sure lacrosse feels the same, and softball as well. We know how to fundraise. We know how to build partnerships with other businesses. Let us do that. We just don't know how to make this partnership happen so that we can also help with the maintenance, because I know that baseball's figured it out. Silva Field and over at Olive, and they have parents there on the weekends and maintaining and all of this. So what can we do to make sure that our kids are safe when they're playing their sports? And that's also going to attract tournaments and things, because we used to have soccer tournaments. We can't have those on our fields anymore. We can't attract people to come in and do a soccer tournament here because we don't have the fields to play on anymore. And yet you go around Marin and their fields are beautiful. They're gorgeous. They're well maintained. Why are we the only ones that can't maintain our fields? And I do understand that we are not a basic aid school district, but we have to figure out other ways and think outside the box. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next is Christopher Carey, and our last speaker will be Matt Cronin, I think.
Hi, good evening, board, superintendent, the high school board members. I come to you tonight wearing a couple of hats. I come to you tonight wearing the hat of a father of two kids that play sports. I come to you tonight as the president of the Novato South Little League, and I come to you tonight as a taxpayer in Novato, and I love the presentation that I just saw. But I'm going to echo something that I think Lois said, and Mr. President, you said, which is we need to find a way. Oh, no, sorry, fourth hat. I was on the site council at Olive, so I see Lori used to be back there. So I've also been on the site council for a number of years. And we've always had an issue of peanut butter spreading. right? Peanut butter spreading resources. And I would just ask the board, as you look at what to do with these fields, you have people like myself, an organization that is willing to take on full ownership of the fields if we can get it. We've been maintaining the Olive Field for years, right? Making sure that field is a jewel of Marin County. Every team that comes to play in our field says that.
Yep.
So I would just say, as you think about the maintenance, as you think about what to do with these fields, be creative. You have a partner in this community that will do what we need to do to make sure the kids have a great field to play on. And so again, just be creative, lean on us. We will support you, and we will support the kids that have these great fields. So thank you for your time, and thank you for doing this. I should have started with that. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next is Matt Cronin.
Suck at public speaking. Hi, my name is Matt Cronin. I live here in Novato, been here for a long time. I have 2 kids at San Jose. I am a board member of Novato South, but I do help out with all the fields that I can all throughout Novato, even in San Rafael. I know Tony, he's awesome. His assistant Trevor, awesome. I know they have their hands full. The field I am talking about is Hammond, which is at Olive School. We have been maintaining that, and it's been the second best field in all of Marin. We've been trying to make it the best, but the one over in Larkspur, Joe Wagner's still got us by a little bit. We were close to achieving that, and then COVID hit, and then all of a sudden, the city and the school district got together, and to be honest, the city offered us a 100-year lease, and I think it was 2018. And our board, I'd only been on there for a couple years, so I didn't have the pedigree or I didn't want to fight with anybody, but we were trying to figure out how we could take over that field with the 100-year lease. And we had it figured out, except 2 board members, the vice president and the president, tabled it. COVID hit, we lost momentum, and then you guys took over the field. And it's, to their credit, they've been doing as much as they can, but with the rebuild at Hammond or at Olive School, we lost control of the fields, and the field went from about an A, not an A+, but an A down to about a C. And I understand costs are high. I know that all this stuff's going on, and it would be, I think, in your benefit as well as the community's benefit, because we have over 400 families that we have at those fields. We have about 200, I'll go with 120 families from Novato North, and then all the All-Star families in June and July that come up and love our field. And it projects well with Novato, and I think it would be in your best interest to give us that 100-year lease. We can come up with a business plan for you guys. That would not be a problem at all. We've already been talking about it, and I think it would be an amazing thing for the community, and it would also give you guys more resources to put into other fields. That's all I got. Thanks.
We appreciate you coming tonight and giving us your comments. Okay, so let's bring it back to the board. We have a formula, 4-step formula. We've got our spreadsheets. Just wanted to, at this point, just get some direction to staff on what you think we should be moving towards, or if you like what you want to see in addition to what we've got so far. So I'm going to turn
We're still
Ross. I'm going to
collecting
bring
data, right?
back to Ross, and then Trustee Mack after that.
We're still collecting data, right? This isn't an action item tonight. No. So the 2 items, Tony, this district got a quote or an engineering plan put together to move the recycled water line from the golf course at Ignacio clear up through San Jose and the community college. So the water district has that set of plans. We paid to have them develop it. So for that run, they can just pull it off the shelf and say, here's what the cost would be. They can get a current bid on it. For the other recycled water lines around the town for areas not served, there's work left to be done. And we need to ask, in my opinion, sit with the water district and figure out what would be a reasonable thing to get pricing on, and have them do the work to figure out how to get recycled water to campuses. Because it's not hit or miss. There's recycled water in C Street. There's recycled water out by the cemetery. So there's recycled water at Olive. It was where they could reach with the amount of funds they had available at the time. So I think there's just a partnership engineering exercise that needs to be done so we understand, we have a real number instead of me guessing here in public. With that said, in this chart that you've prepared, this makes sense to me with a couple of exceptions. Sinaloa to me is really 3 fields. It's the ball field, it's the track, and it's the field on the front. So when it's one line here, I don't know if this is, it's just, I need some more information. And the same, I think, is true as San Jose, although I'm not clear. I think that's really 2 fields. I'm just remembering what the campus looks like. It's the track, and I think there's another play field. So
I think we need to detail this spreadsheet.
Yeah, those are the 2 places where I read it and I'm not clear. And then the rest of this looks like spending a whole bunch of money trying to solve it with old methods, basically restore a grass field to a grass field. That's what this looks like, the plan. Seed it, aerate it, kill gophers. I mean, if we could figure out how to sell gopher pelts, we could get rich.
He just says it.
So this would be interesting to see more of this, but it looks like this is just your first cut at the problem, and I'm taking it for that. So I would be interested to see as you go through this a second layer. And then with that, as the world transitions, we're in a time when water resources are going to become more critical. So I would factor into this plan some thinking about what's our plan to move to turfed fields and what's the economics of that and how do we do it. And that is capital intensive. So people like Lori Granaria are going to be our friends. Our property owners in Nevada are going to be our friends as we transition from full maintenance staff running lawnmowers to a more capital intensive solution. I don't see how this community is ready to turf all these fields on all these campuses. I think we are probably in a water and grass lawnmower solution for another 20 years. I just don't see it. So that's my thought so far. I'm looking forward to a further conversation.
All right, Trustee Mack, then Trustee Jacobson.
Yeah, I agree with everything Trustee Millerick said. It's turf would be great, but it's we just spent $222 million, so it's not coming anytime soon. So we need to work on what we have. So I want to let everyone know that I did talk with Tony and Trevor at length on this issue and learned quite a few things. I just want to share them out because I think it'll be helpful for everybody. One, we obviously have a gopher infestation problem. I mean, you might even say Novato is a habitat for gophers because they seem to live here and never go away. Either that or the squirrels. But anyway, they're cute. But no matter what we do, that's going to be a problem. And we need to if I just put that aside for a second, we need to remember that everything we do, everything we fix, they're still there. So we have to figure out how to, and I'll use the right word, abate the gophers. So another problem is that the systems that we have running these fields, irrigating these fields, are ancient. They have not been touched since initial installation. If you look at what's going on at Sinaloa and the mapping of all the pipes and the heads, it's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. And in fact, on top of that, Measure G construction projects, as we are finding out, as great as they are, they're causing problems for these systems because they're interrupting something we didn't know about, whether it's a controller, whether it's a line. And in fact, it's going to happen again at Sinaloa because I can tell you for a fact there are multiple zones on the lower field at Sinaloa that are attached to the baseball field. So you turn them on and the baseball field turns on at the same time. So we have these issues and we need to get ahead of them. So one of the other issues where I'm going is if I had money, I would say we need to rip out every irrigation system and put in a new one that's efficient, that it doesn't collapse. Because all these things are made with very old, thin pipes. And when they break, they don't break in one place. They break along like a 20-foot stretch because they collapse. And they're just impossible to deal with. So I'm not saying I know the answer. I'm just trying to point out that's one of the issues we've got. Mm-hmm. And it's not just at Sinaloa. It's at all of our fields, especially the older ones, all of our campuses. The other point, And I've said this a bunch of times before, but I'm going to say it again. With the exception of basketball, our friends across town at the City of Novato do not support any youth sports in this town. Instead, the entire burden is placed on this district to provide facilities, whether they're fields or whatever, for our kids to play sports. The city needs to step up and start doing something. Now, I know that they're strapped. I'm not expecting much, but we need to start pushing that. So reciprocal use agreements, we need to start going beyond that. And in fact, it's going the opposite direction. Since about early 70s, when 101 was put in, the bypass, now 101 for us, not a bypass anymore, over there by Olive, the 101 goes over what used to be multiple Little League fields. And when they put it in, I'm not sure who paid for it, if it's the state, Caltrans, the city, whatever. But anyway, that's when Hammond was built at Olive. That's when Silva was built at Rancho. And I'm pretty sure that's when Pinero was built at Lew Sutton, because it's the same construction. And out of that deal, those fields are built on our land, but they were run by the city. And the city then had leases, $1 a year, something really cheap, with each of the little leagues involved. Okay, great. That's been going on for 50 years. As of this year, the city is pulling out of all those agreements. We are now the landlord. We are now in charge of running those lease agreements with the little leagues. No one's told us about it. We need to find out what's going on. Ellen, through her days at Novato South Little League, was able to pull up one of the old agreements, and it looks very familiar. And we need to understand what that agreement is, and we need to create our own agreement, because we are now going to have to sign these agreements with Little League for Hammond and for Silva. We can't just kind of just leave it be. We have to do something. That brings up another point. And I just need to, because I think Babe Ruth's going to figure this out in no time anyway. Where's that leave Babe Ruth? Why can't Babe Ruth have the same kind of agreement as the Little Leagues for Sinaloa and San Jose? You can see where I'm going. We need to enlist these community groups with lease agreements to take care of very defined parts of our fields. So it's already happening at Hammond. It's already happening at Silva, i.e. Olive and Rancho. We can make it happen at Lew Sutton for Pinero, and I don't see why we can't do the same thing at Sinaloa and San Jose for Babe Ruth, for the Testa field, and for the Hernandez field. Mr. Hernandez is in the audience tonight. So I want us all to be aware of that. And that needs to be part of our discussion going forward, because these reciprocal use agreements, they're going away. But we need to hold the city accountable. So.
All right, lots of information. Appreciate that. Trustee Jacobson.
I very briefly just want to add that on your 4 points here, for number 4, I think we should just add to it something around, or just conceptually, as you go through this, how can we not leverage, but leverage in some ways these relationships to make these better? Not just find out what the agreement is, but what does that organization want to bring to the table? What can we bring to the table? Let's grow.
I would assume the agreements will change, because we'll look at them differently. And just one thing that Trustee Mack said, I think one of the differences we have to think about is some of the fields that we share with the ball teams we use every day with our school kids. A couple of the fields we don't. Like the one at Olive is solely
community use.
Or solely for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to, Trustee Butler wants to.
Okay, sorry, I'll be brief. Like what you have planned out, thank you very much. It's a start. We're going to get there. What I'm a little concerned about, if the Sinaloa field, baseball field, did not come forward, what was going to happen with all these fields? Because now all of a sudden we have this big disaster. I feel like.
Well, I'll let Tony answer it. I mean, we were well aware. We're just
Okay.
now sharing the news.
Okay.
I think because it became a public issue.
This is going to require some funding, so I think maybe that would have come to the board at some point.
The aerating, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
The list you have of the aerating and the rolling and stuff is stuff that we have done already. We're going to continue to do that.
Yeah.
We have, the fields have been bad. I mean, we've been able to water 3 days a week with a drought. And again, it was brought up, here we've got neighbors who are suffering, and if they see the school district looking lush and stuff like that, I mean, how do we justify this?
Sure.
Just to talk about what Greg was talking about as well about the Sinaloa, when he was talking about ripping up the fields and replacing the irrigation and stuff. We actually have to look deeper than that as well. He said it. We're running on pipes, electrical, everything that hasn't been touched since the school's been in there. We have no isolation valves at Sinaloa, so we can't shut buildings off. We can't, I mean, if we're working on a water line, we have to shut the whole school down. And that's at all of our sites.
Yep.
Okay? And these things go in, what, 50s, 60s, 70s?
Yep.
And you've got different pipes. You've got, I talked to you, Ross, we have Orangeburg pipes, we have, you name it, it's bad. And we need to look at what we're doing. So it's not just the field irrigation that needs to be replaced. It's the actual schoolrooms. We got to get that stuff done too.
Okay, wow.
So, Mr. President, I have
Three
to...
doesn't have that much money on it.
But I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but I mean, that's what we are fighting.
Yeah.
We have a leak going on right now at Sinaloa that we cannot locate.
Yeah.
And bless the heart of everybody that has helped in the past, because they've done it. We've had parents groups, we had coaches, we had people touch our fields. We have no as-bills to how they ran anything. They're not on our plans. So when I have leak detector out there saying, Tony, I can't find the leak at Sinaloa, I don't know what to tell you. They're the professionals, and they're telling me they can't find it. So we have issues.
And then just as we get down, when we finally get these fields up to playing ability and they're going to get used, maybe we might need to go back to facility coordinator that we eliminated this position in 1920. So it was gone starting in the 2021 school year.
Oh, 2020.
1920. School year 1920, excuse me. 2019-20.
Okay.
We eliminated this position. So I would suggest maybe looking at that again, just in order coordination of fields and usage and working with our partners. And I think it would benefit us.
What was the name of the
facilities coordinator?
Yeah, it was, Tony came to work and we cut 4 positions the day he walked in the door.
Yeah, it was under that reorganization of, no, judge. Facilities and custodial supervisor.
Okay, so.
And then I'm going to throw in a facilities or fields task force or a small committee so that it's not just the two of you sitting behind making all the decisions.
No, we're looking for input. And so we're looking for input, less comment, more input and suggestion. Trustee Jacobs.
Sorry. Not to rehash, but is there an answer on what's happening with Sinaloa now? What is the update on how that's moving forward?
So how that's moving forward, if you remember, Julie, we were there and they were talking about putting a screen in. That's happening tomorrow. So we will be able to put water back on the field. As soon as that's in, we'll be able to put water back on the field. We'll have our ground crew go up there, clean that screen out once a week, as was decided. And then, but we should be able to get that going. I know that I spoke with Logan, and not to point at you, but you're right there, so I'm gonna. He's got the Wi-Fi deal on order for us, so we can hook up to the controllers as well. So that's all coming through.
So we're going to water the field and see how it comes back and then decide what needs to happen from there?
We are going to water the field. We're going to do what they said. We're going to roll the field. We're going to aerate the field, and we're going to overseed the field hopefully a lot before it starts to freeze. But I'm already kind of freaking out because of the frost and stuff that they can say is coming in. But we're going to overseed it to see what we can take with the time that we have left. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to check in with the superintendent by sort of listing kind of some of the things we heard and just check to see if they think they got enough to go on. This is a big deal. I think this is going to take longer and probably cost more than anybody wants it to, but we have an obligation to take care of these fields for the communities and the people who use them. So a couple things. One is we need a little bit more clarity on how you rate good, acceptable, and poor. Well, and that led to some a little more detailed inventory, and I'm sure this information you can gather over a period of time. But like, what is the acreage? What are the number of zones? What is the irrigation type? Or if we don't have any as-built, do we have any, I was going to, in my world, blue lines at all that show us, where things are. Well, I'm just kind of rattling off, and I'll have an opportunity to cover this in more detail later. But I just I'm saying this for your benefit, board, so that you guys are hearing that what I heard. So more detailed on that. There was definitely a lot to do around partnerships. We gotta get back to the city and find out what they think their role in all this is going to be.
They have been in touch with us.
Yeah. Okay. So I can't imagine they're completely abandoning, but at the same time, we sometimes don't talk to each other enough, and we need to do more of that. So the city's part. A lot of talk about these youth programs and sharing the responsibility with them and some lease options. These are things I think over time, I think we can come to some conclusions as to whether those are good ideas or bad ideas. I'm not making a judgment at this point, but we certainly welcome partnerships on all of this, and we want these fields to be successful. From the CFO's perspective, we're that youth coordinator idea that quite frankly, in my opinion, helps coordinate, but it also leads to rental fees, which we can use towards the upkeep of the field, and a suggestion around maybe a committee on this project that might be made up of a trustee or two and some community members. So that would be, I guess, administration responsibility. So, and recycled water. I think we need to get some clarity on that, because it's my understanding that our illustrious legislature at one, said it's great, do recycle water, but then they said 5 years into it, you can't aerate public property, which means sprinklers. So you can drip irrigate with recycled water, but you can't spray recycled water anymore. It's madness. But that isn't to say that we can't find a way to hook up, and maybe we can drip irrigate the smaller areas and use that water we saved on the bigger areas. But I think we need some clarity on that. I'm not sure whose responsibility that would be, but you mentioned there's a plan, and there was a plan, but then somebody changed things in Sacramento. Okay, this has got to be, what did I miss?
Yeah, exactly. I think, I might have missed you saying this, but putting together these agreements for these groups. Okay. That's
a whole third of the project. Okay. So I want to move on.
Yeah, we got to move on. I'm out of here in about 15 or less than that, 10 minutes. I have to leave.
All right. So hang in to the best of your ability. Next is
D, right? Item
D. 13D. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for coming, you guys. Look forward to working with you. So, Lois, you get to kick off approval of summer 2023 Measure G Brown project list, bond program fund transfers within the bond facilities program. And it looks like you got some help today.
I am here to support.
And so I just take over.
All right, thank you. So tonight we're here for the approval of the summer 2023 Measure G bond project list, that, as well as the bond program fund transfers within the bond facilities program. So, as you recall, on the 18th, we brought to you the summer 2023 Measure G bond project list. It included the Olive Elementary School clear-story windows, the new parking lot along Olive, and the new garden. Also at San Jose Middle School, the new track and field turf project, the kitchen upgrade, and the new fire alarm and exterior repair and painting project. Lou Sutton Elementary School, new air conditioning. Novato High School, new air conditioning. At the Hill Campus, new air conditioning, IT infrastructure, IT classroom toolkit, and re-roof replacement. That's of the built-up and asphalt shingle roofs. Sinaloa Middle School, new track and turf field. The middle schools and the high schools, new classroom furniture. IT infrastructure upgrades at the district office. as well as at the Olive Avenue warehouse. So specifically, we're asking for that to be approved, along with the funding of the remaining $3.3 million, moving from the One World Chromebooks outside of Measure G, and then accepting the $944,000 credit from Wright Contracting for the Center of the Arts at Novato High School.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to add cameras at the high schools as part of the summer list. We've been talking about this now for a year, and that never gets on the list. We've talked about it, Lois and I talked about it earlier. We talked about it last week. There's been no response. I've heard that we can get it done by bid by January, but I want to put it on the summer list. I want this board to adopt a list that says cameras at the high schools. We've had an event recently where security cameras are causing this community great distress, and this proposal is not responsive to that need. So I would like to amend the proposal in front of us to include cameras at the high school.
Okay. So,
I have to leave in 5 minutes. I have a meeting I have to go to. I won't be here to vote for or against this. I would like the rest of my trustees to support that position.
I second.
Well, it's going to be a final measure, but I am more than frustrated that we can't get this done.
Sorry, yeah, we're bringing at I believe it's the December 6th board meeting.
Yep, I got it.
We're bringing
I'm not blaming you, sir.
But this is a list. This is a list of new projects that have not really been started. The cameras are in progress projects, so it's already assumed that we're doing the cameras at the high school.
Okay.
There's no need to add it to this list.
I don't see it on any other list we've approved.
All right. So Trustee Millerick we'll bring it back to process. When you got to go, you got to go.
Yeah, I do.
I know you're going to
If you look at what was presented, on the 18th, it was in the works in progress, the cameras. So that's already assumed to be happening.
Okay.
And we're bringing the next official piece of the cameras on December 6th, with the plan that we have a start of installation in spring.
If that's moving forward, and you're giving me the assurance in public
Yes,
that
I
that's
have.
going to happen, then this list looks like the list we approved last time. So this list is fine with me, but I'm just tired of not getting it done.
All
And
right.
I'm, with the news of today, even more frustrated.
All right. Thank you, Trustee Miller.
Sure, and I have
I'm
to
gonna,
excuse myself.
I just got to follow the process, okay?
I have to
So
excuse
appreciate that. I think that everyone is concerned about the issue. So where we are right now is we're looking at this bond project list. So specifically, this is a review of what you have planned. And you want us to confirm this, or to give you permission to proceed on this list?
Correct.
And it's not the only list of things that are going on right now, so we're going to have time to clarify that with the remaining trustees. So what's your next slide?
Okay.
They have to vote on the first one.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Sorry,
they have to vote.
sorry.
Yeah.
We've got to do this one first.
Okay, so you know what, John, maybe we're on D. So in case we threw you off earlier in the meeting, we rearranged the agenda a little bit, and we wanted to address item D first, which is the list, which we just did. And so as a result of that change in the agenda, Trustee Miller sort of started it off that we had some additional things that we wanted to talk about, expanding the list. So this would be new to you. So I'm going to ask for your patience a little bit, and let me turn back to the board. So what I first want to make you aware, we got some public comment on this. So, well, this is for specific to.
Next item.
Okay, next item. Okay, so good. All right. So we heard from Trustee Miller talking about security cameras and expanding, and I think I was going to recognize Trustee Jacobson on the same issue. So
Thank you.
that's where we are.
I just want to expand upon what Trustee Miller said. I don't think it should be limited to high school. I think that we should have the plan and implementation of all sites by this end of the summer or whatever timeline. If it happens before then, great, high school. But I think that needs to be included on our immediate plans.
So on our remaining bond project list, we do list security videos for our middle and elementary schools, and the board would like to ask you about how you can move these into the summer projects, or how soon could we get into expanding our security video installations at all of our sites district-wide. That's the question that the board has for you tonight, and I know we didn't prepare you for this, so do the best you can.
I'll start and then you can. Okay. So as it relates to the other sites, we are currently investigating layout for every single one of those sites. It's our intent to bring something back to you beginning of the year with some of that information, so that we can get forward with moving forward with that. And I think that the timeline would be towards the summer, getting approval as for fall type installations.
So you're going to, beginning of the year, you think you can bring back a plan?
So what is
But
happening?
I wasn't sure. Was it a fall? Say.
I don't know that we have a set time on that. Where we are with it is Guidepost Solutions. Is that their name? Yes. Thank you. Who is the company that did all the reviews of the security, and they do not just cameras, they do lighting and fencing, similar as to what the community member was talking about at Linwood. And so they are beginning the process to meet at every single elementary school and every middle school, talk with the staff, and they talk with the police department, and they do a thorough review of security issues for each of our school sites. So that's the report we will get. And he told us at this, our last meeting, he said early spring, we should see that report. Does that sound right? And then once we have that report, we'll start to do the designs. That's the piece that I'm not sure what the timeline is. We had some problems with the timeline at the high schools. We will admit that is not what it should have been. It will be sooner. So I think what John said, it probably by fall, we would be installing cameras at all of those other sites.
Okay, that I understood. So now I'm back to you guys. There's unquestionably been a surge in interest in stepping up the speed at which we move in towards installing additional security at all of our schools. So I'd like to hear from those of you who would like to comment on that now, so that we can come up with a consensus that may lead to some direction other than the current plan. So, Trustee Mack.
I'll be fast. So, thank you, Trustee Butler, for showing me those numbers. I wasn't aware that we had $500,000 set aside for elementary school security cameras, which is great to know. That tells me that we're basically looking at about 62 grand or something per elementary site for cameras. And one thing I'd like to ask is, what does that get us? I mean, how far can we go with that? And two, this is obviously not a summer project, so we can just move this along as fast as we can. So it doesn't have to be tied to that summer project list.
So we can get you more detail later on what that buys. My question is more about timeline and expediting the process. Trustee Gasson.
I would like to see if we can't move some of this up. I don't know what the limitations are on that, but I would also, and I think it was kind of inferred at some point, when I had talked to the sergeant or whomever was at Novato High School a couple weeks ago, she mentioned that there was like an assessment that they could do at our schools. So it sounds like there's a component that they'll look at in terms of our cameras, but is that enough? Can we, while we're doing that, can we do the peepholes or whatever else that we might be able to do? I just feel like we need to up that and try to figure out what we need and do it sooner.
So I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, but I do believe the study includes additional security measures. So I'm expecting the study to produce gate here, things that we can do.
And you have seen the study for the high schools. We can resurface that if you'd like to see the details.
No, well, actually, what I do remember, and my husband reminds me all the time, it was a very cool presentation about the cameras. So I think that's important right away, but if there's other things, so I just would like to move it.
Right, so I would agree with the study is probably more limited than maybe some of us would expect it to be when it came to other security items other than the cameras. But there are elements described, and I would imagine with our direction going forward, additional ideas or concepts could be implemented. Just want to remind everyone that, time and money it's physics, okay? So we got to be careful, but I'm trying to facilitate this because it's clear to me that we have to do more faster around the areas of security for our community, and I support it, but at the same time, I don't want to be unrealistic or set expectations that we can't meet. So anybody else would like, Trustee Jacobs and then Trustee Guillemette? Okay.
No, actually, you said it perfectly. I was just going to say there's an urgency. And I remember years and years and years ago, we've been talking about this, and we've had several different companies give us their presentation on the cameras, like way back, with OHO, and I remember so it's time, and what happened last night is just a reminder again. So I'm in favor of moving forward, but with caution, as you say. So I'm on board.
All right. So Trustee Jacobs, I wasn't sure if you wanted to comment again, and then I want to ask the student trustees as well.
Yeah, I just want to pose that from a forward-thinking approach, if we get information that says we need X number of cameras, but we need to still assess that by having the principals review it, can we start ordering? Because we know that there's long order times right now. Like, any ways in which you can be proactive about getting this in a timeline that makes sense, that would be greatly appreciated.
Absolutely, and we're meeting with site principals here in the next couple of weeks to get all that figured out. And we'll come back with cameras that are prioritized per region of the school based on what everybody thinks that we need. So I think we're gonna work towards that. Also, we're looking at doing CMAS for the purchase for the cameras, so that can get us going even faster.
Okay, so.
Yeah, we even have a phone call in the morning with the camera company, Verkada, to get some of that CMAS stuff in the works as well.
Great. Questions or comments from student trustees, or weigh in on security, campus security, and security videos?
I think everybody in this room can agree that, I don't think anybody in this room is, inherently against having, more security and safety, for our schools, and I think we both follow that. But we just wanted to ask because we have a bedtime, and we haven't eaten dinner yet. Is it okay if we dismiss ourselves? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and it's a standing rule, you guys. Anytime if you're here, though, I'm gonna drag you into it. So get out sooner, especially before the hot topics come up. But that's good. That's great. I mean, it's not like you're saying, "Hey, no, we don't want secure campuses." So appreciate that input. Obviously.
Thank you.
Okay, and just. We want you guys to go home and when you need to get things done in time for tomorrow.
8 o'clock is the bewitching hour, so you can. Yeah.
All right. Thanks. We'll see you guys soon. All right. So I'm going to take it back. We do have an action item here, but we're amending this action item to ask you to do more in the area of expediting the security concerns that you heard about tonight. And I'm just going to leave it at that based on the format and where we're at, it's not something we had an opportunity to bring to your attention any earlier than this public announcement. But the board is in complete agreement that we would like to see more done faster, and finding ways to do that. And we're not irresponsible about the money, but we would be curious to know what we could have to do to get it to go faster. Okay.
So I'll move to that.
Okay. So I guess we have the recommendation as amended. I have a first. He had input he had input. So
he had the motion and I had the second.
I have a first, and I'm more than happy to have you second the approval of the summer bond list as amended. Okay. You have a question? No. If I have a first and a second, I can come back to questions. Okay. So Trustee Gasson.
So I meant to ask this when we were talking at the bond meeting. What exactly do we have at Olive Avenue, and why do we have to do the IT upgrade now? It's $400,000. I'm just going for, yeah.
Do you want to explain the Olive Avenue summer?
Yeah, so at Olive Avenue, it has the dark fiber from the MCOE over to it kind of routes, and it's kind of the main infrastructure for all of your internet.
At Olive? Okay, so we couldn't just set that aside? Okay, all right, well, I'm glad I asked. I don't know, I'm looking for these little pockets of money, or waiting if we can do it later.
So I think we're going to go ahead and complete that. So I'm going to call the question. You asked the question. You're not asking for any amendments to the motion. So all those in favor of approving the summer bond project as amended to address security, we have 6 in favor and 1 absent. So thank you. And at this point, I think it would be appropriate to move to item A, which is approval of the schematic design project cost estimate for the new track turf field at San Jose Middle School. So, John, you're on.
Thank you. Let's hope this is the right one. Okay, so tonight, looking for approval of the schematic design for the track and field at San Jose Middle School, as well as the project schedule and the project cost estimate. So tonight we're going to look at the general project information, along with the site location, also the cost estimate.
John, can you make sure your mic is on and I think the button, it's a sensitive button. It is. And we have people on the internet and watching from home, and it's important we hear you.
Everyone touches it.
I had it there.
I won't touch it. I'll keep my hands behind my back. Sorry. Okay, so again, general project information along with the site location, cost estimate and schedule, and then if you have any questions. So as for general project information, the project is going to consist of removing the existing dirt track and grass field. We're going to construct a new 1/4 mile track. It's going to be 6 lanes. It's going to be asphalt. We're going to construct a new synthetic turf field. It's going to have the game lines for soccer and lacrosse. We'll have some retaining walls that will improve the site drainage. We'll demo the partial blacktop for the right size track. We're going to construct the new blacktop surface to meet the PE needs. We're taking out some of the some of the basketball courts and pickleball courts, and so you'll see that those get relocated. And then we're going to install the perimeter security fence around the field, but that's going to be inside the track. So here you can see the existing site. Do take notice that the track and field fall short of the existing asphalt play area. In the new layout, you'll see that the new track and field actually extend into that asphalt play area. So that's where we're going to relocate some of those basketball hoops. You'll have new basketball standards at those new locations. We'll add the pickleball and then account for the volleyball courts as necessary. You will see on the far end that that track will be, you'll have grass in what they call the D zone on one side, and then right now the plan is to have asphalt on the other side. So this would be, that's your D zone in there.
So that's grass?
One side would be grass and one side would be asphalt. I'm sorry, it would be synthetic turf. Yes. Yes. So estimate for that project, all-in project cost, we're looking at $5,409,000, rounded up a little bit. As it relates to the schedule, so we're working on the DSA phase right now, getting everything ready. We'd like to get this project approved as a lease back. Upon approval, we could start advertising almost immediately. Would get a contractor selected so that the contractor could go through a little bit of pre-construction services and start bidding that out in the early part of 23. I provided two options here for the actual construction. One would start in spring, and the other would start in the beginning of summer. And so that just is kind of dependent on both DSA approval as well as site needs.
Okay, questions? Trustee Mack.
So first, just a couple questions. If you can go back to the schematic, the gentleman that was sitting here, his name is Dave Fernandez. That baseball field's named after him. And right field for that baseball field is marked by a slope where when a fly ball's hit there and the outfielder's running out there, they all fall down because they're running backwards and they hit a slope. And anyway, my question to you is, so you're going to put in a retaining wall. Is the lower field now going to be all one level, or is that slope going to remain?
So the retaining wall is going to go, it won't be on the baseball field, it'll be on the upper side of the track. So see where the track has the runoff area and has the flat, so it would be up there by the hillside. As it comes down to the field, yes, there is a slope there.
You better point, John.
Yeah, I can't tell what you're talking about. Oh, I'm talking the other side. So the lower end, yeah. That's where the baseball field is.
There would be no retaining wall down there.
So the slope will still be there.
You would still have a slope there.
Okay. I was just okay. So that just helps me understand. But it's going to go in the same. It's not going to encroach at all. It's really be no change on that lower field at all.
It won't encroach into that outfield.
Okay. Yeah. It's just it's unchanged. Okay. And then as you point out, the D area on the right side is going to be asphalt, and then turf on the left D area. And the only thing I'd say, those are my questions. But one comment I have, and Lois, I'll extend this to you because this really kind of goes back to Mike. To be honest, this is the first I've heard of this being an asphalt track. From day one, I was under the impression, maybe misguided, that it was going to be an all-weather track. I don't want to spend more money. I'm not trying to say that we need to go back to drawing board or anything like that. I'm just, disappointed. I thought this was going to be an all-weather track as part of the price. So, and I know I'm not alone. But anyway, just take that for what it's worth.
Okay, Trustee. So, any more questions on this plan?
So before you do that, if I could make one clarification.
Yeah, go ahead.
So within the lease-back process, one of the items that we will be doing is including a line item for a rubberized track. If we have the funding, then we would go ahead and have that could have that as part of the project. But yeah, exactly. It would be an additive alternate. Yeah, so it's about $55 to $75 a square foot additional. So that's getting you like $375,000 or so.
Sinaloa. Okay. So let's take public comment, and I assume there's going to be some overlap between these two fields anyway. So we have Mimi Nielsen, then James Nielsen, and if Stacy Walker and David Oscus.
Yeah, Stacy had to go home because it got.
Yeah,
really
I hear you. So we want to know, hear what you have to say on these
Yeah,
fields.
you didn't get rid of me though. So I have a prepared statement. As Trustee Mack was saying about the asphalt track. So a lot of you probably know me. My name's Mimi, and I volunteer for a lot of stuff. But right now I am the cross-country coach at Sinaloa. And this year we have the largest number of student athletes in the history of the Sinaloa program. Kids are really excited to be running and representing their school. Right now, cross-country and track are the only two sports at Sinaloa. We utilize the track at practice every single day. Not only do we use the track, every single student at Sinaloa uses that track at PE. We also have many community members who use the track on a daily basis for exercise. As of right now, I have at least 1 to 2 students fall during every single practice. That's just with my team. I can't imagine how many kids are falling during PE. The current track proposal is an asphalt track without the standard rubberized top, or called tartan. I have been running competitively since I was 6 years old. I can tell you from my 30-plus years of experience that falling while running on asphalt is extremely painful. It's a safety issue. Falling on asphalt will not only give you road rash, you'll also get a lot of loose asphalt embedded in your skin. Asphalt is hard and can cause serious injury when falling at speed. Stacy, who left, I know last year was running on asphalt, fell and broke her wrist, and that's not uncommon. Tartan, the rubberized topping that is track standard, is much softer to cushion the fall and prevent serious injury. Now add in any sort of moisture, asphalt becomes incredibly slick, and chances of falling become even greater. Asphalt gets very hot on warm days and can burn your skin when you fall, making it even more dangerous to run. Also, asphalt is very hard on your joints. It's important to run on softer surfaces like tartan to maintain good leg health. Right now, I feel we have no safe surface to run on at the schools since the track is riddled with potholes and the fields are in serious disrepair. If we want to keep kids in our public school system and playing sports, we need to be providing them with safe and nice facilities. For example, our football programs, not only is it a fun community event that brings such pride and joy to our community, it attracts students to the school to play for the team. And where do these powerhouse teams start? They start at middle school and elementary school, like the Pop Warner program in Novato that feeds into our high school football programs. If we want to keep and foster athletic talent and not lose them to private schools, we need to have nice facilities. To do that, we need to start in middle school. We need to have a tartan track in order to host meets. It would be so nice to let people throughout the county see our amazing facilities.
Just go ahead and finish yours.
Okay, to see our amazing facilities here in Novato by hosting track meets. Middle school is where we get kids excited about sports in high school. Track should be one of the largest sports in any healthy athletic program. Track provides so many opportunities for all types of athletes. Putting in a tartan track at the middle schools will be the safer choice for every single student at the school and all the community members who use those facilities outside of school hours. The long-term health and safety of our community and students should be the #1 priority of this board, and I urge you to spend the extra bond money and make our track safe. Thank you. Sorry.
All right. Thank you. James Nielsen.
Same thing. I have a child. My name's James Nielsen. I have 2 kids, a 6th grader at Sinaloa and then a 4th grader who will be at Sinaloa in a couple of years. I know this is for San Jose, but I know there's projects going on in both. $5.4 million, that's a lot of money, but an extra $375,000. Keep my fingers crossed. So yeah, I grew up in Novato, born and raised. And went to Sinaloa in the 90s. Actually, I was there when they started the middle school cross-country and track program, George Bosquet and Tammy Campbell. Yeah, remember? Yeah, so track and field completely changed the trajectory of my life. I'm not understating that. I really mean it. I went on to San Marin, won a bunch of MCAL championships, went on and ran collegiately, won 2 NCAA national titles as an individual, and then the Stanford cross-country team, which I was a part of. We just missed our national title, and we got 2nd place. Anyways, I also met my lovely bride here, very talented, through track and field. So it really has completely changed my life. The other thing I want to mention too is it's not just about the running thing. The accolades are great, but really it just completely changed the way I approach my overall health and physical fitness. I mean, track and field, running, it's a game changer, obviously. A couple things here I just want to highlight real quick on the safety aspect as well, right? Again, my wife already mentioned it, a couple different things, but just falling is no joke, right? I mean, if little kids learning how to run and jump and all those different things, you take that at the elite level, actually the faster you get, the more it hurts, so keep that in mind. Also shin splints and stress fractures, like I think everyone knows what a stress fracture is, but to think about you actually break a bone by running too much, so just thinking about all these little middle school kids out there actually, running on concrete is just crazy. I mean, even the youth basketball programs won't even touch, our concrete. They all want to be indoors on nice surfaces. So concrete is definitely not appropriate for running, and I hope we've come up with some extra money. And then again, just on the community aspect of thing, you have a husband-wife combo, both ran collegiately. We're ready to go all in on these youth middle school programs. They're feeders to track and field. Track and field supports all different kinds of body types and sizes and heights and weights. It's a great thing. You got 300-pound shot putters and 80-pound gymnasts doing pole vault. It's just such a beautiful sport. And I'm excited to see what this looks like, not just for the track teams. Track supports the basketball and baseball and cross country or softball and lacrosse and all the other sports, right? All kinds of great athletes compete in middle school and go on and do high school sports and a lot of different things. So excited to see some maybe middle school track meets come back to Novato at some point in the next decade or so. And yeah, getting a tartan surface would be phenomenal. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Stacy Walker, and then she left. Okay, David.
Perspective on it. My son has graduated a long time ago. I live about a half a mile from Sinaloa, and I walk that track every morning, 6 a.m. The perspective I'm coming from is you need to do as much as you possibly can for the cosmetic effect too, because these are community properties. And people come out and they walk and they look at this and they say, this is what our bond measures are doing. I know in the neighborhood people were talking about the renovations to the exterior to Sinaloa, and they all loved it. But so much of these bond projects you don't see. Something you see and can use and it's going to be there for 20 more years makes a big difference when you consider you need 1,000 extra votes to get the next bond measure. I have a question. I was wondering about, did I hear correctly that you can't isolate the irrigation water from the schools?
Yeah, we'll figure that out later. But
Okay, I'll make it brief, but I'm just. But that's my.
You did hear that, yeah. Okay, so okay, Trustee Gasson.
Okay, I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth, and I know that. Okay, so I'm starting with the fact that I don't even know how many months ago, we decided we had this pool of money left, and we said, okay, each of the middle schools are going to get 4.25, have some money for Hamilton, come back, we're at $5 million on this already. These fields need to be done. I drive by Sinaloa every day, and I agree. I don't think it's safe. People in their community are using it. We need to do something for our kids. Looking at this, though, I'm already hearing things that we should. Here's where I'm talking out of the side of my mouth. I feel like we're kind of doing these plans that maybe are good, but are they good enough? Are we going to look back and say we should have done whatever this other surface is. Also, they're so bad. So in my head too, I'm like, is there one surface, or is this whole thing going to be impacted by gophers, which I know personally can do a lot of damage even to concrete walls and structures and things. So is one or the other better in terms of what we're developing? I have a lot here. And then my other question kind of touched on something that was just said too with the fencing. I understand that the fence is only going to be around the field, that the track would then be open, but, or am I mistaken?
No, that's correct.
Okay. I know that sometimes too, there's community has felt that they should be able to use our fields and stuff too. So there's also that component, because I thought, well, if we do something nicer for the track, does that mean that we would then have to expand the fencing out so that it doesn't get damaged? Because my understanding is the other type of surface is more susceptible to being damaged and stuff. So I feel like there's a lot of pieces that are out there and creating questions for me. So if we had a fencing around that, then, and I didn't realize he was out at 6 a.m., but I do see people frequently with their dogs and running and stuff like that on that particular area too. So just some factors that I'm curious about.
So this is interesting. It's getting late, and I'm going to ask about timing right now. If we're not prepared to make a decision and authorize either of these middle school fields tonight, what does that do to our schedule? Because I have a feeling we're going to be asking you for a turf addition, and then if I'm just assuming that if we do add the rubberized track, that then we're probably going to want to fence that in, which is going to make a wider.
Correct. Okay, so a couple things is if we push this, then it does obviously impact the schedule, and the issue that we have is that we're getting into the holiday season if we push it another couple weeks, and we're going to have a bit of a difficulty getting contractor coverage, and so I am concerned about that. Obviously, you have to make your informed decision. As it relates to ground squirrels and gophers, we're lime treating and doing a lime cement treat that is, should impede them from impacting the surface or underneath. You can't do that on a natural grass surface because the lime will react with the grass and the grass will just die. So for that, it's better to cover your question about the fencing. Right now we have the fencing on the inside of the track, so we could look into adding fencing or changing that so that it's on the outside of the track, or eliminating it, or however you guys want to do that. I think for tonight we're looking for schematic approval, schematic design approval, and then allowing us to go with that lease-back process. We can come back to you and maybe get you some information on additional, on maybe some of the changes and what those costs would be. I think that might help you kind of proceed as we get going. But as it relates to getting a contractor and starting to bid this, I'd like to, if we get approval tonight, I would like to actually start an ad, within a couple days, and then again next week to meet those requirements.
All right. Well, I have two questions that are related to both these projects. One is you've engaged the site. We had Principal Caspers here earlier, but I want to make sure that they've seen the encroachment on the basketball courts, and that we're not going to find out later that this is something that they haven't seen and approved. I want to hear.
Excuse me. Okay. There. We're not touching the entire basketball court. So
No, I got that. My question is, have you guys engaged the site? Have they seen this before us, and or do we have to bring them into the process?
Yeah, I believe this has gone to the site. I know that we've talked with the one of the PE coaches at each of the sites to make sure they're okay with it.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe they would object based on the major improvement, but
Actually losing out on basketball, or will it all be replaced? everything that we're taking will be put
What-
somewhere else.
Okay. I just have to ask because it just seems like it always comes back that,
And I got
that,
a very extensive email from one of the PE teachers at San Jose today, and she was asking these types of questions, and I got all the right answers, so I'll let her know tomorrow, and I think she'll be happy with all the answers. I want to make sure in your mind, as we come back and ask for changes, thinking about the fencing, I believe this is a big issue in Nevada, and I need to know, you as a board have to decide what you want to fence and what you don't want to fence. If we put up a fence, it means we close it off except to people who are renting the field. That's the whole point, to protect the asset. And that is why we designed this with the track open, so the community could use the track. So that was an intentional design there. The turf fields, we need to figure out, are we gonna keep them locked, or what is this community's desire? This is a different world. In Marin, I've learned than what I'm used to in Sonoma County. The people there were okay, basically, with us, for security purposes, locking up campuses. So that's a bigger conversation, but it does apply to these fields. Putting a fence around the track, the whole point of the fence is so that we lock it up and only people who rent then use it. We don't leave the whole thing open for anyone.
okay, appreciate that. And that was a question, not a direction on the fencing, so I'm fine with a recommendation on the fencing. I just made an assumption. The other thing I just want to also clarify, this asphalt, is this road asphalt or is this some other kind of asphalt that being applied to the tracks or that's currently being recommended?
It's much like what you would have in a parking lot or a play surface, essentially. You'd have a finer aggregate, but yes, it would be your regular asphalt.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys, what do you want to do? We
Ma'am,
have two middle schools. We have some, it sounds like early assumptions that these were going to be rubberized. I think it's tartan and that was included in the new price, whatever. So, and we heard how we have to sort of like get started, and I'm not sure if we can say get started on Plan A or Plan B, and then we'll let you know. Is that
That's
something that
where
maybe,
I'm headed.
Okay.
For what it's worth, I'd like to.
Does anyone on the board need to? Is there anything specific about Sinaloa that we should be made aware of as far as major differences? I'm trying to put them together and say, here's the direction we want rubberized tracks. We want you to consider additional security. It sounds like this asphalt isn't in the long run maybe going to be the best decision. And then the question for you, Lois, is going to be, where is the money going to come from? Is it going to come out of something, right? So I don't know, if you're prepared to answer that question tonight. So I'm sort of putting them together and saying, can you go out, make some assumptions and advertise for there's going to be a Plan B or a Plan A price? That's my first question. Or do you need to have get us a price and then have approval for that before you go out?
Yeah, if we could get that approval, I could follow up with some different options in terms of pricing as it relates to the rubberized track, and maybe even if we change the fencing based on what I've heard tonight. And that was something we could get you tomorrow.
Okay. And then I'm going to assume that we could put together a quorum if we had to schedule another meeting or something like that. We actually have plenty. Thanks for reminding me. My life is okay. So I'm trying to do this in cooperation because this is up to us. Actually, I'm going to say that we're going to ask for some additional information on rubberized tracks and any other associated recommendations they may have based on that request. Once that information comes forward, we're going to bring it to you, and we're going to get together at the next board meeting or a special board meeting or something and try to get these projects going. But we need to know how much it's going to cost, and we need to know what the recommendation would be, where the money would come from, or do we fall back on these plans that we currently have? So that's no decision tonight. That's simply direction.
Well, we do need an approval, so we can.
Well, that's what but okay, board, now back to you guys, not these guys, okay? So, hold on. They want to move, they're concerned about the timing, won't happen. I don't see how we do it, but I don't know how, help me understand how we do it.
We presented to you. There are places where we have cushions of money. It's early in the game to be reaching into those, but if this is something you feel very strongly about, there is a way to do it.
Okay, so just so you guys know, I want to go ahead. I favor the rubberized tracks, but I am trying to honor the concerns over, mission creep here, and the budget's getting larger and larger on the earlier projects, and we don't get to the end. So this is something that I just want to make sure we're aware of what we're doing as we proceed. So I guess what I'm hearing now is we can approve these projects tonight. We can take money from the contingencies that were mentioned, and we can get probably the right kind of tracks that the community needs that way. So what say ye? All right, so I'm going to go, Greg. Okay, that's how government works.
So I was just going to make one clarification. When we come back to you with the TBR, we can present that option for the rubberized track at that time for acceptance.
Okay, so we're going to basically be approving the recommendation amended to include rubberized track. And I'm just going to leave it open enough to say if there's something else you feel is necessary as a result of that, you will tell us that, right? Okay. So if I take a motion, I will have to get a second or let that motion die. If I get a first and a second, then I can bring it back to discussion. So do we want to listen to Trustee Gasson before you make the motion? Or do I have a first and a second on this right now?
I'll second.
Okay, so I have a first and a second, so I'm going to take those first and seconds, but before I call the question, I'm going to recognize Trustee Gasson.
It's just a statement that I think goes without saying. If there's any place that we can change or shift or, I don't know about all the work that's being done on the courts and that particular thing, but, wherever we can find places that maybe we can save a little bit of money, that would be great too. But otherwise, I agree, it needs to be done.
Okay, so I need clarification on the motion because I'm going to ask this question as staff. Can we combine these two projects into a single motion, or is there so much difference between the two that you want to present the Sinaloa issue in more detail?
It's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so I'll amend the motion to be for both middle schools, and still have a second?
Second.
Okay, let me just ask one last question, a two-parter. The fence, 8 foot?
It's 6 foot right now.
Okay.
That'd be better.
I'm just thinking about all the other turf fields are 8 foot. Just beware, they're going to climb that fence and they're going to poach that field relentlessly, and it's going to get abused. So.
That's not our construction manager's problem.
Yeah, I get it. Okay. And the other thing is if we do this rubberized track, do we want to keep the track open to the community, or do we want to put a fence around the whole thing?
That's not on the agenda tonight.
Okay. So for now, it's going to stay where it's at. This motion carries where it's staying where it's at. Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
All those in favor of the recommendation as amended? 6-4, 0 against.
And
Appreci-
I want to
and-
say one thing.
Well, wait a minute. You're going to just give us some additional
No,
information?
no,
That's-
no, not
that
on
could
this.
change the outcome
No,
of this vote.
it's to help ease some of the distress that we are.
Okay, so I'm going to make a suggestion. I just took a vote. It's 6 to 1 absent, and I'm going to move on to the next agenda item, and then you're free to make a comment on anything you want when you take up the next agenda item.
Okay.
Okay, what is the next agenda item?
Is it you or you're done?
No, we did them together. So we just did A and B. So we now have to talk about C, which is the cost-efficient air conditioning AC installation, roof replacement. And I'm going to let our CFO open up with a statement to make us feel better.
I'm going to make a comment, and that is that we were not going to bring this up because there's nothing promised. We always budget donations when they come. Not that we're getting a donation, but we are beginning to get the paperwork for state money. And the process is starting because of the governor's budget and what that was allocated to help with facilities. So just to let you know, that is beginning to move. So that's good news.
So a bit of good news. Air conditioning at Hill.
Testing. Yeah, this works. Yeah, I just won't touch it. Okay, so now we're looking at approval of the schematic design, the project schedule, the project cost for the air conditioning project, for the air conditioning at Hill, as well as the roof replacement. We're also asking for confirmation or approval of a lease-leaseback mechanism for delivery of bid. Again, with the agenda, we'll go over the general project information, cover the site location, the cost estimate, and the construction schedule, and then open it up for questions. Project consists of removing the existing furnace equipment, installing new vertical air handling units and heat pumps, updating the supply and return air connections. We'll reuse that existing ductwork, as well as the Pelican wireless thermostat controllers. We're going to install the exterior condensing units, put them on concrete pads and fenced around like the other campuses that we've done so far. And then install the electrical wiring to handle that increased power load, as well as replace the asphalt built up roofing and the asphalt shingles on campus. So what you're looking at here is some condensers from another site that identifies, kind of gives you a look of what it's going to look like. These photos are in construction. They're not completed, but those are the condensers we're looking at. Here's some photos of the roof work we can expect. They'll strip it down, add any insulation necessary, and put back any roofing, whether it be asphalt shingle or asphalt or TPO roofing. Our estimate for this work is $4,610,000. And our project schedule, again, we're looking at hopefully with approval starting to advertise later this week, getting a contractor on board towards the end of the year, going through pre-construction services exercises at the into the beginning of the year, and then bidding the project. Construction would take place from June to it would be done before school started. There'd be a little bit of closeout work once school started, some balancing, but everything would be operational for school. Any questions?
Okay. But this one's straightforward. Okay.
I should add one thing before there's any questions. If
Okay.
I can. Okay.
One more thing.
So by approving this, we're looking for $2.6 million, but $322,000 of that would come from the program contingency that we discussed earlier.
Yeah, I think we understood that from previous conversations. Okay. So any questions or comments on the Hill Education Center AC installation? Okay, so I'll accept a motion to accept the recommendation to proceed with these plans.
I'll motion.
Okay, and seconded by Trustee Nell. All those in favor? We have 6-4, 1 absent. So that's the air conditioning. Next. That's right. You guys did your job. Thank you. Appreciate your patience with us. We're just trying to do the right thing. Thanks, John. Thanks, Slows. Okay, so we're going to have the acceptance of the California School Employees Association and its Chapter 312. This is CSEA, our classified bargaining unit. They have presented their openers for negotiation, and Fran Whitcomb, if she is still awake, she's not here, so we're going to have the superintendent, you're going to present.
So you have two items.
Okay.
One is the CSEA proposal, and one is the NUSD proposal, and we're recommending acceptance of both. Oh, geez, sorry. You have two proposals in front of you. One is CSEA reopeners, and then one is the district reopeners. And so I'm just asking for approval for both of those.
Right. So I think that we can combine these two items.
No, you can't.
We have to take separate votes.
You have to take separate
Yeah, we'll have to
votes.
take separate
I was
votes,
just-
but the
yeah.
presentation combined, these are openers. You guys have copies. We've seen this. We've discussed this in closed session. So
Right.
I need a motion to accept the CSEA openers, item E. First by Trustee Jacobs, seconded by Trustee Mack. All those in favor? 6-4, 1 absent. And now I need a motion to accept the
NUSD
the
openers.
NUSD opener. So
I'll
that is
second.
moved by Trustee Mack, seconded by
Second.
Trustee Aguila. All those in favor? 6-4, 0 against. And now we can move on to the last item.
Last one, which
is
I'm
G.
changing up.
Okay.
So just in case we wanted to know what I'm doing. So we originally, when Brian Godby and Charles first talked to us about doing surveys, we knew that there was a second one coming. I had originally thought that they were both included in the first proposal. They were not. A survey is really an expensive proposition. But when we went through Blue Ribbon, there were a lot of conversations about, can we do an inflator? No, we can't do an inflator. Can we increase the amount? Or can we not? What we've come to in the mini Blue Ribbon Committee and in just analyzing what we have in front of us with inflation, with gas prices, with the increase, when Lori was presenting, and in July, the interest rates were 3.25 or whatever exactly she said. Now they're 6.5. So we've got a lot of things that have changed financially and a prospect of a fiscal cliff. What we've learned in the mini Blue Ribbon Committee with the outreach that we've been doing is that it would be really hard to increase the dollar amount for the parcel tax right now with the way things are. And we know we already had decided that we weren't going to have an inflator. So my recommendation, and certainly I've given you 3 options, to do a 15-minute survey, to do a 10-minute survey. One is 23,000, one is 29,000, or to not do one at all, because what we're doing is really just asking for an extension of what we already have. So those are the 3 options before you. My recommendation is to not do another survey, because I'm not sure if it's going to give us any more information than we already have, and then just to move forward with something that we think the community can do, because they've been doing it for a very long time for us. And it means that we don't increase the dollar amount, and it also means that $4 million doesn't buy what it bought eight years ago. But the fact is, it would be better for us to be able to pass the parcel tax and have that $4 million secured than to try to increase it and not get it at all and adversely affect us and cutting $4 million. So that's what you have before you tonight, those three options.
So I just want to make sure that you guys understood that. And the questions are, and the discussion is to begin. Trustee Gasson.
Thank you for the additional information. I'm fine with us not going out or not having another survey done, but I do want to go on the record that I understand our original conversations about the inflator, and having been a part of the last parcel tax campaign, that I know from the community the increase and the inflator were an issue, having them both. I still, while I understand and respect and pretty much do agree that the best thing is to just go out for a renewal, I really do wish that there was an opportunity that we could at least add the inflator. So that's just my personal opinion. I think I get it, but I think that this is going to, like I think you said, we're not going to be able to do as much, and it's been that way for the last 8 years. We have this amount of money, and it covers less and less, and even as things are continuing to, our costs increase just in general. So it's like a double whammy.
Any more questions or comments? Okay, so to be clear, what we're actually going to be doing here is accepting the change recommendation not to go forward with a survey. And it sort of puts the writing on the wall, as explained by the superintendent, that it's likely at this point the reason we don't need a survey is the board will likely decide on just going out to renew the existing parcel tax. But that does not, just because we're not doing the survey, that does not mean that's written in stone. Trustee Gasson, to your point about a future opportunity, tonight's decision is survey or no survey, based on the recommendation that you heard. So I'm prepared to support no survey tonight, and see where that takes us with the community as we get closer to a decision on what to do about the parcel tax. So having said that, any more questions or comments on that? No. Then would entertain a motion to not proceed with the survey at this time? That is our motion. Trustee Gasson, seconded by Trustee Jacobson. Thank you. All those in favor? 6, 2, 1 absent. And I really appreciate your patience and hanging in there tonight. This was a long one. I don't know why facilities does this to us, but I wish we would spend this kind of time on educating children. But it just never, 16 years been doing this. It never happens. But
That's why we're having a facilities only December 7th, so be ready for that date.
So we are, not only do we educate kids, but we're facilities gods. So again, everyone, please support your local public school. We are adjourned.